Welcome back to the channel. We're back on our commander ranking video here for you today. There are a lot of cool commanders released this year, and I figure let's do our best to rank them all. We already did all the monocolored commanders, so now we're doing some colorless ones, some multicolored ones, all the way from Aderdrift to Avatar, which doesn't sound like a lot when you spelled out alphabetically, but when you look at how many commanders there are in this list, you'll realize just how many commanders there were this year. In this list alone, we have 231 commanders that we're going to be trying to get through, rank them all from A to F. And if this video ends up being 2 hours, let's see if it could be the longest video on the channel. Starting us off with how we're going to rank the different commanders. We're going to start off with the A tier. Those are going to be our top 10 commanders of the year. Tend to be like our creme de la creme. B tier are going to be our ones that are super fun commanders, definitely really good in terms of what they do, just not quite top 10 material. Then when it comes to C tier, these are ones we tend to see more in the 99 than we do in the command zone themselves. Tend to be ones with really good abilities, potentially just not something you want in the command zone, something you just want in your deck more than anything. D tier tend to be the ones where it just gives a little bit of a buff to your other creatures. Maybe it's just a little bit too expensive to be putting in the command zone, especially if you're spending 8 mana to begin with in something other than green and spending more than that later on. You're not going to have too many chances to cast and recast your commander. And then F tier tend to be the ones where they could always find a home somewhere, but they tend to just be strong creatures for the ones going in the F tier. Overall, let's get into like how we rank each one. A tier, we're starting off with Avatar Aang. We have a Wooburg commander with flying, firebending 2. Whenever you do any of the different bending styles, you get to draw a card. And we've done all 4 this turn, transform Avatar Aang, and basically all your spells are free for the rest of the game. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may transform Aang. If you do, gain 4 life, draw 4 cards, put 4 +1/+1 counters on him, and deal 4 damage to each opponent. We're reducing all of our spells casting cost by 5. The more I play with this one, the more I realize just how easy it is to get all the bending styles off in the same turn. And then you can just keep on storming off from there, being able to cast all your stuff for free, getting all the draw power from earlier in the turn when you just had the front sign. Super good commander, deserving of the A tier there. B tier, Aang at the Crossroads. We have 2 green, white, and a blue for 3/3 flying. When he enters, get a free creature with mana value 4 or less from among the top 5 of your deck. Super good ability, getting us just a free creature. We're in white and we're in blue. Super easy to blink our commander. We're in green. Don't have to really worry about that casting cost too much. He does have the flip side, which we don't really care about, but it does give you some earthbending bonus and giving your lands vigilance as well, which is another way to benefit your earthbending stuff. But really what we're looking for here is just to keep on blinking Aang, keep on getting a front side ability, keep on getting more and more good enter abilities on top of that. So, B tier he goes. For C tier, we have Aang, Swift Savior. Feels weird to put it in here, especially after seeing what happened at Worlds. Flash, flying, enters airbend up to 1 other target creature or spell. Basically a free counter spell in your command zone or free temporary removal in the command zone as well. Free way to blink your creatures in the command zone. Just in terms of like being able to like not have it be something your opponents see coming, I'd say it definitely could go there in the C tier. The Waterbending 8 we don't really tend to use too much. Just gives you a bit of a strong creature, but we want to make sure we keep on blinking this commander, keep on blinking our other stuff as a result, and just get some fun abilities as a result. But overall, just don't feel like he's a lot to like really like behold, unlike our A and B tiers. And with 231, we have to make the cutoff somewhere. D tier, we're starting off with Absolute Virtue. The spell can't be countered, that's nice. Flying, and you get protection from each of your opponents. Doesn't mean that he has protection from each of your opponents. Or it, I don't know. But yeah, still easy to remove. It's an 8 cost commander for an 8/8. That is nice to have that strong creature with flying that gives you that protection. That protection is very helpful in terms of making sure that you could survive. But in terms of this getting removed, this is going to get removed very often, and you're going to be without your commander quite a bit if you leave this in the command zone. And then F tier, we have Aang. A lot to learn. Aang has vigilance, and as long as there are lessened cards in your graveyard, and whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Aang. If that said, whenever another creature leaves the battlefield, I could see putting into a D tier. But essentially, all that you're getting is a 3/2 that sometimes has vigilance and sometimes gets up to a bit of a stronger creature. It's not going to end up being like a super strong creature able to win a game. It doesn't have any evasion to make sure it could like trample over, fly over, do anything like super spectacular in terms of that as well. So I think that's why it ends up down in the F tier for us. And now we're going to go alphabetical order to the remaining 226. Now we have our tiers established. Starting us off, we have Aang and Katara. I did try initially to have like an Aang in each of the tiers, but I felt like none of them really like fit the D tier because Aang and Katara is a green, a white, and a blue. Pretty hefty casting cost, but it is in green, so like it doesn't matter that much. Whenever Aang and Katara enter or attack, get a bunch of allied creature tokens where X is the number of tapped artifacts or creatures you control. You're going to be able to blink this a whole bunch because you're in blue and white. Super easy to do that, similar to Aang at the Crossroads. You don't have to worry too much about the casting cost because you're in green. And the main thing that you're looking to try to do with this deck is play Mana Dork, so it's basically cheating the casting cost and getting a whole bunch more tokens to begin with. Attacking doesn't really matter too much, so I'd say this is deserving of the B tier, getting us just that much more card advantage, or creature advantage. For next, we have Achik, Emerald Radiant. For 3, 2 black and a green, we have a 3/3 where when this creature enters, get a 1/1 green insect creature token for each artifact or creature in your graveyard. And whenever another insect you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Achik, and each opponent loses a life. So, in theory, we could get 40 insects and deal 40 damage to our opponent by sacrificing all those insects. You don't have too many ways to blink Achik because we are in green and black, so you're not going to be able to get this like ability repeated too often. You're in green, so you do get to cheat the mana cost a bit, but it is still 6 mana, just giving you a bunch of tokens similar to the way that Aang and Katara did. And you're in black, so it's super easy to mill those cards. I did build this one in real life as well. I think this one, though, just because you don't have as many options to blink it as Aang and Katara, I'd say it goes down there in the C tier. Following it up, we have Eret, the Last Ancient. Oh, sorry. There we go. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If you gain 7 or more life this turn, return target card to the battlefield instead. So you're getting card advantage, returning those creatures. You're getting at least 3 life every turn if you attack with Eret, which is getting stuff back to your hand. Very nice. In terms of how often are we going to gain that 7 life, I don't think it's that hard because you're in white, so you have plenty of ways to give things lifelink. You're in green, so you have plenty of ways to like have strong creatures. Strong creature plus lifelink means revive creature. In terms of where it ranks, though, it's not going to be like the easiest thing to do because could just remove her before you hit the end step. The recursion is nice and it does give you a decent amount of card advantage. I don't think quite enough to go above C tier though, because it's only like up to once per turn. Following up, we have Aloy, Savior of Meridian. Vigilance, reach, whenever one or more artifact creatures you control attack. Discover X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Creatures attacking. I don't know why I'm messing up on that. It's just hard to read on like this text. But yeah, very nice to cascade into other spells for basically free. Swing into a big creature, get another big creature on the board, proceed to keep on growing your board. You're in green and blue. Green has plenty of ways to buff up creatures. Blue has plenty of ways to get a lot of artifacts on the board. She's like one of my personal like preferred commanders from the year. In terms of how good she is, I don't think you're getting as much card advantage as you are with Avatar Aang because you can only do it once per turn and you have to attack in order to do it in the first place. But still, I think that could be enough. Like, we're getting to discover for like 24 to go into the B tier here for us, getting free Blightsteel classes. Class high. One of the two. Then we have our first Edge of Eternity's commander with a Feral, Dreaming Acolyte. For 1, a blue and a black, he had 2/3. When this creature enters, draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact. During your turn, a Feral has Death Touch. Okay, so most times I would put just like straight card advantage into the C tier because like C tier, okay, pretty cool card advantage, C for card advantage. But in terms of ranking 200 and whatever commanders, I think I have to be a little bit more strict about what goes in the C tier. Um, and this just doesn't draw you enough cards to really be like worth it too often because you're not getting the ability too often. You get each time it enters, but you have to blink it, and like you're in black and blue, so it's pretty easy to do that, especially if you have like all the blink spells with blue, and then Kaya's ghost form, not dead after all for black. But you're going like neutral unless you have an artifact theme. I think D tier goes. Following up, we have Amarant Coral. Trample attacks each combat if able. Deals combat damage to an opponent. Deals that much damage to each other opponent. Here's the thing. I really like just the style of Commander of just do damage everywhere. In terms of how good it is as a Commander, it needs to attack to do that. It needs to deal damage to do that. It doesn't draw you any cards. It doesn't get more creatures on the board. It ends up just being a strong creature. But I think because it does enough damage to like everyone, it does go into D tier here for us. Following up, we have Amy Rose. For 2, a red and a white, you get 3/3 with haste. Whenever Amy Rose attacks, attach up to 1 target equipment to her. Then, if one other targeted attacking creature is +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is Amy Rose's power. So she gets to cheat some equipment costs. Very nice. That's a little bit of card advantage there. Only when she attacks, she does have haste, so it is very easy for her to attack. You're at least buffing up another creature, unlike some of your other D tier stuff. I think, still though, I think this is going to be like a tight race in terms of what could qualify as C tier. I think she is definitely going to be a fun commander. I think more so something you're going to see in like the 99 of a different equipment style deck though. Following up, we have Aranya, Heart of the Spider. Whenever you attack, put a +1/+1 counter on an attacking creature, potentially Aranya. Whenever a modified creature you control deals combat damage to a player, exile a top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. Modified creature you control deals combat damage, but you get to repeat it because you're going to do it once each turn. Well, you're going to do up to 3 each turn. It's very limited because you can only cast it during that same turn. But in theory, you could cast this, then next turn attack, deal the damage. And there's a way to like get its play going in the first place. I think C tier. Following up, we have Ardbert, Warrior of Darkness. For 1 in Orzhov, you get 2/2. Whenever you cast a white spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each legendary creature you control. Gain Vigilance. And whenever you cast a black spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each legendary creature you control. They gain Menace. So he buffs up creatures similar to like what Amy does. He could buff up creatures multiple times. I don't think. Whenever you, yeah, I don't think he gives you any card advantage. I know he doesn't give you any card advantage. So I think still goes down there into D tier though. Following up, we have Atreus, Impulsive Sun. Page where you tap, draw a card for each experience counter you have, then discard a card. Atreus deals 2 damage to each opponent. Okay, so we can't really rank this one without having Kratos involved, because you have to run the 2 together, essentially. You don't really have to, but if we're ranking Atreus on his own... Where's Kratos? There are a lot of commanders we have to get through. I know I could just do the alphabet. But yeah, in terms of just Atreus on his own, I think he doesn't have a way to get the experience counters, and you'd have to find something else to get those experience counters, so he'd probably end up in C tier. But the way Kratos works is that whenever you attack with 1 or more gods, you get an experience counter. At the beginning of your end step, put a number of +1/+1 counters on a target creature you control equal to the number of experience counters you have. So he's going to go ahead and give you a whole bunch of experience counters. Atreus is going to draw you a whole bunch of cards from those experience counters. So ranking the 2 together, I think you could argue A tier, but I have been ranking most commanders like separately. This one, I'm going with the courtesy, put him in C tier together, just because you could tap, untap with Atreus, especially because you're in blue. There's plenty of ways to do that. Having to pay mana isn't great, but still, could easily go into B tier, I'd say. Actually, I think we'll put them in B tier. Yeah, they deserve B tier. Can't put all the PlayStation commanders in B tier, though. You know, Aang, Guitar, Aloy. Zula, Cunning Usurper, Firebending 2 for 2 blue and 2 black for a 4/4. Whenever Zula enters, target opponent exiles a non-token creature they control and a non-land card from their graveyard. During your turn, you may cast the cards exiled with this effect as though they had flash, and you use mana of any type. Okay, so you get to use the Firebending mana or to cast those spells, but your opponent gets to choose what you're getting to cast. Your opponent could, in theory, choose something that would help you. They're not going to. You still have to pay the mana in order to do that. But you are going positive because you get to keep on casting that. During your turn, you may cast cards exiled with Zula. You could blink her because you're in blue in order to keep on doing the effect. I think because you do get to cast on a flash speed, I think that is still worth a C tier. Following up, we have Balthier and Frown. For 1 a red and a green, you have forgery with reach. Vehicles you control get +1/+1, have vigilance and reach. Whenever a vehicle crewed by Balthier and Frown this turn attacks, if it's the first combat phase, pay 1 red and a green. There's an extra combat phase. Okay, so it is a really cool, what's it called? Vehicle commander. It pumps up vehicles. It makes a set of vehicles second combat phase. And like you don't have to spend much mana to do that secondary ability. You could crew the vehicle with Balthier and Frown the turn they come down. I don't think enough card advantage for B tier, but I do think it deserves C tier there. Following up, we have Bannon, the Returner's Leader. For a red and a white, you get a 1/3. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a creature spell from among cards in your graveyard that are put there from anywhere other than the battlefield this turn. Whenever you attack, you may pay 1, discard a card, draw a card. Okay. Whenever you attack, so it has to be during your turn, you could take extra combat spells. You are getting a little bit of recursion. For only stuff you mill, really, I guess. Or discard? No, yeah. Whatever you discarded with them, you get to cast still. Is that good on its own? I think so. I think not. Yeah, I think good enough for C tier. Following up, we have Barret, Avalanche Leader. Whenever an equipment you control enters, get 2/2 red rebel creature token. Being combat on your turn, attach up to 1 equipment you control to target rebel you control. Slightly better than Amy, but green isn't the best for equipment. Whenever equipment you control enters, create a 2/2 red rebel creature token. So you keep on getting equipments, keep on getting rebels. You attach that stuff for free, essentially. Is it enough for C tier? Just cheating equipment costs? I think getting those creatures does make it worth it for the C tier. Following up with Bader, Ancestor's Voice. For white, a green, and a black, you get a flying lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, put a number of +1/+1 counters onto 1 target creature you control equal to the amount of life you gain this turn. So if you just attack with this, you get 3. And you're in white too, plenty of ways to gain life. Return up to 1 target creature card with mana value less than or equal to the amount of life you lost this turn. Oh, from your graveyard to the battlefield. So if we pay life, lose life. In theory, this could be really good with what's his face? Mr. Negative. I didn't even think about that. In terms of where that ranks, you're getting some recursion once per turn. And I think it's similar to Arid, where like you're getting that little bit of recursion once per turn, and that makes it very good. But also that buff is also pretty nice. Is relying on like what amount of life you lost, which isn't always fun, but you're in black, so you have plenty of ways to just pay life, play Bolas of Citadel. I think still C tier there. Following up with Bator, Kindle All. At the beginning of your end step, if creatures you control total toughness 10 or greater, draw a card. If a creature you control toughness 20 or greater, untap each creature you control. Then, if you have toughness 40 or greater, each opponent loses half their life. Okay. Drawing a card is very nice. Untapping all your creatures, very nice. Having each of your opponents lose half their life is going to put a target on your back that no one wants you to get accomplished. They don't want you to succeed. But we do want to succeed. I think in terms of where this one would rank, I think I could see this one in B tier. I could see arguments for A tier, just with people don't like losing half their life, and they're going to tend to remove it before you get that one too often. Following up, we have Black Waltz number 3. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Blackwall's number 3 deals 2 damage to each opponent. Damage is nice. It's 4 mana for that. It's similar to like not Smeller, but whatever the long shot, whatever the Avatar one was. It's a little bit worse. I think D tier, because it just does a little bit of damage every so often. Like you could storm off and deal a whole bunch of damage, but doesn't give you enough advantage to go above D tier for me. Boomy Unleashed. Boomy enters Earthbend 4, deals combat damage to a player, untap all lands you control. There's a short combat phase after this one. Land creatures untap and could deal damage again. Untapping all your lands is very fun. Making them into a land and taking infinite combat phases, very fun. Is it enough to go into B tier though? I think so. Just because, like, even if you don't get that infinite going, you do still get to untap all of your creature spells. Sorry, all your lands, which that's just kind of nice to be able to do. Following up, we have Captain Haller's Sea Scourge. Whenever you discard one or more cards, target creature control gets +2/+0 to end a turn. And for each card discarded this way, whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player this turn, you draw a card. Okay, so it counts each time you discard a card. So discard 1, give it +2/+0, draw a card when you deal damage with that creature. It also, does it have trample? Nope, this doesn't have trample. Get stuff unblockable, you're in blue. That's a lot of draw power that you're going to be getting. You're in red, so you have plenty of ways to discard stuff. You're in blue, so you have plenty of ways to discard stuff. I think also we should be putting at least one commander from each set in the top 10. I think Captain Haller is that Aether Drift commander here for us. I keep wanting to build a Captain Haller deck, like in real life, but I keep ending up running different discard decks. Currently I'm running a Green Goblin, like Norman Osborn one that works very well. Following up, we have Cardora, Heart of Alcaria, Alakria. For 2 green and a white, 4/2. Where is she from? Aether Drift, oh. Whenever she enters, you may search your library for a mount or vehicle card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle. Oh, that's kind of cool. If one or more +1/+1 counters we put on a creature or vehicle you control, put that many +1 instead. Oh, those are both pretty good abilities. I don't enter, so like you're in white, so you have plenty of ways to blink your creatures. In terms of like how many good mounts and vehicles there are, is what we're a little bit limited by, especially in green and white. If you had access to blue, I may say differently. Or if it searched up spacecraft as well, that'd be really good. I think it is still a tutor that you could repeat. So it still deserves a B tier at least. Following up, we have Carnage, Crimson Chaos. Enters, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Attacks each combat if able, deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice it. Mayhem that you don't really have to worry about because you're not going to be getting that ability. Because it's in the command zone, you can't discard them. You get to return 1 creature when this creature enters. That's very limited in terms of how often you can do it. It's not once per turn like our other C tier commanders, so D tier goes. Following up with Cecil Dark Knight. I feel like this creature got a lot of hype because it was like one of the first legendary creatures revealed for Final Fantasy. Death Touch, 2/3. Whenever Cecil deals damage, you lose that much life. The life total is less than or equal to half your starting life total. Untap Cecil, transformed into Cecil. Whenever Cecil attacks, other attacking creatures you control gain indestructible. So he's dealing a little bit of damage to you, eventually becoming a 4/4. That gives you lifelink. He's giving that little bit of a buff to your other creatures, similar to the way Amy and Ardbert do. So I'd say D tier. Initially, it was just a front side F tier, but still, they could go in D tier. Following up with Celeste, Rude Knight. Enters, discard any number of cards, then draw that many +1. Whenever one or more creature cards enter, if one of them enter from the graveyard or cast from a graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on them, and on each creature you control. +1/+1 counter strategies are very fun. Enters, you get to discard the cards, but like you're also in black, so you're getting to like reanimate stuff all the time. And putting all those counters on your stuff, very good. Being able to do that. I think I could say A tier, but I think just because it's only when she enters, I think that's similar to our other B tier commanders. She might move up to A. Following up, we have Choco, Seeker of Paradise. Whenever one or more birds you control attack, look at the top card, that many cards on the top of your library. One into your hand, rest into the graveyard. On all lands onto the battlefield. Um, It's a lot of card advantage. It's a lot of landfall stuff. You're in blue and white, so you have access to a lot of birds. You're in green, so you have access to almost all the Final Fantasy birds. And you're in blue, so like you could run that ley line. You could run Masquerade Nexus to make everything a bird. You just run all the good landfall stuff for green. I really like this commander, but I think just because it's limited by birds, I think it could still go in C tier. I could see argument for B tier though. Sid, Timeless Artificer, artifact creatures and heroes you control get +1/+1 for each artificer you control, and each artificer card in your graveyard. Deck can have any number of cards named Sid. Sid is cool. I like Sid in Final Fantasy 16. That's like one of the only Final Fantasies I played. In terms of what he does though, how many artificers are there? You run like 30 Sids in theory. But I think it's just a little bit of a stat boost since that's about all you're getting. D tier he goes. Final input, Cloud of Darkness. Whenever Cloud of Darkness enters, target creature an opponent controls gets -X till end of turn, where X is the number of permanent cards in your graveyard. When they enter. Okay, so like I know F tier tends just to be for creatures that tend to be just strong creature. What strong creature tend to do is destroy a small creature, but big creature doesn't mean just big creature in that case. We could put Cloud of Darkness in the F tier because you're in green and black, so you don't have that many ways to blink your creatures. You're removing one creature sometimes, maybe, essentially. You're gonna send out. You're in green and black, so you have enough way to mill enough cards, but still, I just don't think the payoff's enough. Following up, we have Cloud, X-Soldier. Whenever Cloud enters, attach up to one target equipment you control to it, so cheating at equipment cost, similar to Amy. And whenever Cloud attacks, draw a card for each equipped creature you control. That's very nice. Then if Cloud's power 7 or greater, create 2 treasure tokens. Even nicer. Is he A tier? I feel like that's good amount of card advantage because you're going to do it when you attack. And then you're also getting those treasure tokens. You're also cheating equipment cost. You're getting around a whole bunch, and you have haste, so you can do it the turn you come down. Is it better than our C tier? Yes. Is it good enough for B tier? I feel so. I think I could see A tier. I think he's going to be our A tier commander, at least temporarily, as we work on whatever else is going in there. Next we have our next Cloud, Cloud Planet's Champion. For 3 red and a white, during your turn, as long as Cloud is equipped, it has double strike and indestructible. Equipped abilities you activate that target Cloud cost 2 less to activate. So, equipment makes creatures stronger. Stronger creature means you have strong creature. In terms of Cloud's ability, you only get to cheat his equipment cost, not all equipment costs. So eventually you're just ending up with a strong creature with double striking and indestructible. I could see D tier because it does get around those equipment costs, and that little bit of cost reduction is very nice. I think a little bit too limited in terms of the competition it has going against it. I think we have to be a little bit ruthless in this one. Cosmic Spider-Man, speaking of ruthless, flying, first strike, flying, first strike, trample, lifelink, haste. Beginning of combat on your turn, other spiders you control get those abilities too. This is gonna sound a little bit weird because, there are so many spiders printed in the last one. Were there that many good spiders? There are a few. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely a few. In terms of what he doesn't give you card advantage. He doesn't, put cards in exile, get you landfall, anything like that. He doesn't recur stuff. He just gives you buffs on your other creatures. And that's where we're putting our D tier stuff so far. So, D tier for Cosmic Spider-Man. Dawnsire, Sunstar Dreadnought. Station, whenever you attack, Dawnsire deals 100 damage to up to one target creature or planeswalker. Flying for 20/20. Okay. We did just put Cloud of Darkness into the F tier because it is essentially just a creature that removes another creature. Dawnsire keeps on destroying stuff though, not just the one-time removal, and it's a 20/20. which is just kind of cool. It is a colorless commander, so you could kind of like cheat that equipment cost. I think D tier. Doesn't give you card advantage, so not C tier. But I think still D tier. Deadpool, trading card. As Deadpool enters, he may exchange this text box with another creatures. At the beginning of your upkeep, lose 3 life, sacrifice this creature, each other player draws a card. Okay. So with Myriad in red, you have ways to just get a whole bunch of Deadpools and keep on removing your opponent's stuff. In theory, it only does it when it enters, and your opponent could just sacrifice that creature. But it could also give you draw power as a result. I don't think it's A tier. I don't think it's B tier, because I don't think it's like that good. Like, he is definitely a good commander. He does have his niche. He does a good effect. He removes creatures. He's very annoying. We'll say that. And the draw power is nice. I think it's nice enough for C tier still. Doc Ock, Evil Inventor. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, a target non-creature artifact you control gets to be an 8/8 robot villain in addition to its other types. Okay. So you're buffing up one other thing you control. That's about it. And you're 7 mana for Dimir. I always forget the name of the color combinations. I think that is D tier. You're getting other strong creatures, you're buffing up other creatures, and that's about it. You're buffing up stuff that isn't even creatures. I mean, it does help some stuff like tap, but that's about it. Dr. Octopus, Master Planner, same casting cost. For 4/8, other villains you control get +2/+2. Not enough villains yet. We'll see after the Marvel superhero set how many villains there are. No maximum hand size. Oh, sorry, maximum hand size is 8. But if you're on step, if you have fewer than 8 cards in hand, draw cards equal to the difference. You're going to draw a bunch of cards every turn. I think this is like my second favorite commander from the set, Spider-Man set, personally. In terms of how good it is, I think very good. I don't think A tier, just because like I feel like that's too high of a casting cost to go into A tier, but that effect is really good. And then we have Dr. Eggman. Flying for 3/6 for 2 and blue, black, red. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card. Then each opponent faces a villainous choice. The player either discards a card, or you put a construct, robot, or vehicle card from your hand onto the battlefield. If everyone chooses, what's it called? Second one. What was the second? Villainous choice. Oh, yeah. No, they don't have names, actually. I just realized. So you're at least getting to draw a card every turn. That's very nice. But if everyone keeps on choosing the secondary mode and you only have that one card in your hand by the end of the turn, it's not hard of a choice for them to face. Very good ability in terms of like there being a lot of good robots and constructs and vehicles, especially in like blue and black. Is it good enough for B tier? I think C tier still though, just because your opponents can like just choose to kind of like wait until you cast all the stuff from your hand already. Following up, we have Diadrine, Synthesis Amalgam. For X, green, and a white, you get 0/1 with Trample. To get stronger, based upon the amount of mana you spent to cast it, whenever you attack, remove some counters, draw some cards, get some robots. Really good ability, keep on getting that draw power. Keep on getting a stronger and stronger creature with Trample. Keep on getting more robots. You're in white. You have plenty of ways to benefit off of getting tokens. You're in green. You have plenty of ways to benefit off of getting counters. Is it enough ways to benefit to put it into B tier? What would be a better commander from Edge of Eternities? I can think of one that I personally prefer more. Once we get to one, we'll see. But for now, that goes in my A tier. I built this one, like, in real life, and it works very well. Then following up with Eddie Brock, enters, return creature card mana value 1 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's all it does, right? Yep. You get to recur a creature. Nope. We also get Venom, Lethal Protector. Menace, Trample, Haste. Whenever Venom attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, draw X cards. Then you may put a permanent card mana value X or less from your hand onto the battlefield, or X to sacrifice creature's mana value. Okay. If, you're going to draw a bunch of cards. Venom has to be the one to attack is the only downside here. So you are very reliant on being able to attack. Similar to like the way that like some of our commanders we put in C tier, we're relying on getting to the end phase. In terms of how much advantage you're getting in terms of card advantage drawing cards and a free creature on the board, I think that still deserves the B tier there for us. Following up, we have Adia, Possessed Sorceress. That's what's the recent one. War 2, at the beginning of combat in your turn. Gain control of target creature an opponent controls. Until end of turn, untap it, gains haste. Whenever a creature you control but don't own dies, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control, and you get to draw a card. So we have ways to blink the creatures in order to make sure they stay under our control. Beginning of combat in your turn, you do it every turn. Keep on getting your opponent's stuff. Card disadvantage for your opponent is essentially card advantage for us. And we're going to draw some cards on top of that. I could see arguments for A tier, but I just haven't seen enough to really put into A tier. I think B tier goes. Following up with Edgar, Master Machinist. Once during your turns, you may cast an artifact spell from your graveyard. If you cast a spell this way, that artifact enters tapped. Edgar enters, gets +X/+0 until end of turn. Whenever Edgar attacks, gets +X/+0 until end of turn. Works the Grace Malifying among artifacts you control. We have to cast those artifacts from our graveyard, but we get it once per turn. I don't think it's as good as like our what's it called? Beta or Ancestor's Voice or Aerith in terms of like our recursion commanders we have in C tier. So I think D tier he goes. Could end up being like pretty good. But just like that casting cost could still get in your way. Elsha, Threefold Master. For Jeskai, you get a Trample Prowess. Whenever Elsha deals combat damage to a player, get a 1/1 Unk Wood Prowess. It's a lot of math. You're gonna need a lot of dice. Just buy the set of like 36 dice that you get from your shop. I don't know if everyone's shop has that. Ours does. You're reliant on this creature dealing combat damage. You have prowess and you have trample, so shouldn't be the hardest. You could give it double strike probably because you're in red. You have plenty of ways to do that. You're also in white. I don't know if it's enough to go in C tier. I think it still ends up in D tier. I think very good commander still. I just don't think it stacks up that well against what else we've seen so far. Emmett Selch of the third seat. Spells you cast from your graveyard cost 2 less to cast. Whenever one or more opponents lose life, cast an instant sorcery card from your graveyard. Spells put into your graveyard, exile instead. Only once each turn. That's during each of your opponent's turn. You're getting something from your graveyard for 2 mana value less. You're in black, so you have plenty of ways to put stuff into your graveyard. That reduced casting cost is very nice. I don't know if nice enough for A tier, but I think because you have so many ways to mill cards, it still deserves the B tier there. Emmett Selch, Unsundered. Vigilance, when Emmett Selch enters or attacks, draw a card and discard a card. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 14 or more cards in your graveyard, you may transform Emmett. During your turn, you may play cards from your graveyard. If a card or token we put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile instead. Okay. Enters or attacks, draw a card. You're in blue, so you're playing ways to enter. Are you making it around the table? Sorry, making it long enough for him to transform to Hades? It almost like hinders us. Yeah, you do need to make a whole round around the table, essentially. Which, not the easiest thing to do. Especially with only having it be 2/4. I mean, at least it's not a Druidry. If it was Druidry, I'd say probably D tier. But since it does get that draw discard, it powers up its own ability, and like you're in black, so you waste the mill. I think we could still put in C tier. Eshki, Dragonclaw. Being a combat in your turn, if you cast both a creature spell and a non-creature spell to earn draw a card, and put 2 +1/+1 counters on Eshki. I really like this commanding. I keep wanting to find ways to like try to build this one, especially like the adventure cards are very fun. I don't think I've gotten around to actually building this one for the channel yet. Now I think about it, maybe we'll have a video for that one soon. Do we say this is one of our top 2 commanders for Tarkir? I think my personal one, I think in terms of how often you're pulling off that ability, you're essentially drawing a card every like turn. I think it is good enough for B tier. I don't think good enough for C tier though. Sorry, A tier. Then we have the other Eshki. Eshki Teamer's Roar. For Teamer, you get a 2/2. Whenever you cast a creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on its creature. If that spell's power is 4 or greater, draw a card. Spell's power is 6 or greater. Deal damage equal to Eshki's power to each opponent. It's a lot of damage. That's some draw power. I think actually this Eshki is better than this Eshki. So I think this one does deserve the A tier, sorry, B tier. You're getting to draw cards, you're getting to deal some damage. All really good abilities. Einstein. For 2 in Orzhov, you get a 3/3. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Einstein. It gains flying till end of turn. Okay, so you're getting a strong creature. At the beginning of your second main phase, you draw X cards, lose X life. That's the number of your opponents who were dealt combat damage by this creature or dragon this turn. Wait, whenever you cast that, put a plus. So he's only dealing combat damage to one person or a dragon. So you could, in theory, get 3 cards every turn. He doesn't have a way to make sure he's he gets the flying. I think C tier that could be good enough for. Xstat, Void Warlock. Enters, gains 3 life, and being for end step. 6 or more permanent cards in your graveyard, transform them into Trample. Neo Xstat. Power is equal to the number of permanents in your graveyard. So if you didn't have to wait until your end turn to transform this, I could see arguments for D tier, but essentially it's just going to end up being a strong creature with Trample. Could essentially be a 40/40 with Trample. Still, a 43 with Trample. But for it to make it like around the table with 3 toughness, not that likely in all honesty, because there's like so many things that just say like, oh, deal 3 damage or -3/-3. I think F tier goes in all honesty. I really like it. Like personally, I almost built that instead of Atchik. But yeah. Then we have Far Fortune, End Boss. Start your engines. Whenever you attack, Far Fortune deals 1 damage to each opponent. Source you control deal damage to an opponent or permanent opponent controls deals that much damage +1. Wait. Oh, when you're at max speed. I was just like, why do we have the start your engines thing? Whenever you attack, deal 1 damage to each opponent. If a source you control deal damage to an opponent. Oh, so we're dealing 2 damage to each opponent when we attack. We have to wait 4 turns in order to get there. I very much like the speed mechanic, like in theory. Just in practice, it tends not to work, like where you're gonna get that. And dealing, if it just said when this creature attacks, deal 1 damage to each opponent, I don't think you'd run that. If something said in 4 turns, deal that much damage +1, like say if you had like Torbran, but he only dealt that much damage +1 in 4 turns, like you had to suspend him. I don't think. Yeah, I think that's F tier. Feldar, the Steadfast. Each creature you control assigns combat damage with toughness rather than its power. Creatures you control attack as though they didn't have Defender. And then page 3, sacrifice another creature. Draw cards equal to sacrifice creature's toughness, then discard cards equal to the power. Hear me out. While bossing say, draw 30, discard 0. And we're attacking with dirty, essentially. Fun ability. Good amount of ways to draw cards with this. You have to tap it, is the only thing. It doesn't have vigilance, so it can't attack. But, like, you're not really using this to attack too often. It's more of a defender. I think this is one of my personal favorites from Tarkir. I think we've got 5 of our top 10 so far. And we're not even halfway through the list. Following up, we have Felidar, Dawn of the Abzan. For Abzan, we had 3/3 Trample, enters, attacks. You may sacrifice an online permanent. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So you're buffing up some other creatures. You're getting a Sacrifice Owl. Sacrifice Owl is nice. You need to do it twice. Like, in theory, if you blink this and then attack with it, will if you give it haste. It's nice, but I don't think nice enough to go above D tier. Fire Lord Azula. Firebending 2. Whenever you cast a spell while Fire Lord Azula is attacking, copy that spell. May choose new targets for her to copy. If she had a way to give stuff flash, I'd say A tier. But still, really good ways to like cast stuff for free with that firebending ability. Really good ways to double up on all your good stuff. I think still deserving of the B tier. Just double up on your extra turn spells if you give them flash or something. Firelord Zuko, Firebending X, cast a spell from exile or a permanent enters from exile. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. In theory, that's firebending for a lot if he manages to stick around. Gives you a good amount of card advantage with that mana that he's creating. Doesn't give you a way to cast stuff from exile, it's the only thing. So if he did, I would give him B tier. But since he doesn't, C tier he goes. Jiraha, Tia, Scion Reborn. For white, blue, and a black, he had 2 Druid lifelink. Whenever you whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may pay X life, where X is the spell's mana value. Create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token and put X +1/+1 counters on it, only once each turn. You can do it during each of your opponent's turns, so you get more and more 1/1 creatures every time it goes around. This one does hold a special place in my heart because it was like one of the first commanders that I made a video for on the channel. That wasn't like one I had in real life. In terms of how strong he is, though, like looking back on it, like in theory, like if you have ways to untap your lands, potentially. But in terms of like how you're just getting a couple strong creatures, I think still D tier though. Garland, Knight of Cornelia. For black and red, you had 3/2. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, surveil 1. That's not card advantage. For basically 7 mana, transform him. And to Chaos, the Endless. Dies, put it on the bottom of its owner's library. So you're basically getting a strong creature that surveils sometimes. I don't think it surveils enough to go into anything other than F tier here for us. I just don't like it. Garland, Royal Kidnapper. Speaking of Garland, target opponent becomes the Monarch. Whenever an opponent becomes the Monarch, gain control of target creature that player controls for as long as they're the Monarch. And creatures you control but don't own get +2/+2 and can't be sacrificed. Okay. I want to put him in C tier, personally, just because I like that strategy. In terms of, where did we put the other creature that steals your opponent's stuff? We had another one, I thought. Oh, I guess not. No, we had something else that steals your opponent's stuff. Anyway, stealing your opponent's stuff is basically card advantage for you. Because card disadvantage for your opponent is card advantage for Adia. That was the one I was thinking of. And you get to do it in theory like each turn because you keep on blinking him, and you get to decide who's the Monarch. But you're giving card advantage to your opponent by letting them draw cards, essentially. So I think C tier he goes. Following up, we have Garnet, Princess of Alexandria. Whenever Garnet attacks, you may remove a lore counter from each of any number of sagas you control. Put a +1/+1 counter on Garnet for each lore counter removed this way. Just, in terms of sagas, green and white are a great color combination for that. Also very good for like your Enchantress style strategies. In terms of her ability, she does enough to get you C tier, I think. Like just removing that lore counter from, it's each saga, right? Lore counter from each of any number of sagas, yeah. So getting your saga abilities the second time around, definitely worth it going C tier. Giat, King of the Dwarves for Boros, you have 1/1, double strike. Is there another dwarf enters, or whenever this or another dwarf you control enters, and whenever an equipment you control enters, discard a card, draw a card. Just drawing cards sometimes, maybe. Think D tier. It's not strong enough to get you into C tier. Gladiolus and Messina. Enters, search your library for a land card, put it into the battlefield, tap and shuffle. Okay, you're not running it for just that ability. You're going for the landfall ability. Whenever land you control enters, target creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains trample till end of turn. Okay. You're in green. So you have ways to buff up your creatures a lot. He powers up that ability his own way by giving himself that landfall. Is it worth C tier? I don't think it gives you enough card advantage for C tier. Since it's only once and you're not in like blue or white in order to blink him to do it again and again. Well then again, you don't need to blink him to do it again and again. You're in green. You have so many ways to put lands on board. C tier. Golbez, Crystal Collector. Artifacts you control enters, surveil 1. At the end of your end step, if you control 4 or more artifacts, return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If you control 8 or more, each opponent loses life equal to that card's power. So this is one I feel like I underestimated until I actually versed it pretty recently. Surveilling, pretty nice because you can put like your strong artifact creature into the graveyard. The recursion, very nice, especially if you put a 12/12 into the graveyard and dealing 12 damage to each of your opponents, and you're discarding that every turn, and you're dealing 12 damage to each opponent every turn. I think still C tier though, because it's a limited recursion in terms of what you're getting. Green Goblin, Nemesis. Whenever you discard a non-land card, put a +1/+1 counter target goblin you control. When you discard a land card, create a treasure token. I really like this one. Only problem it has is not having a way to discard cards. If it did, it would be very broken and, be much higher than $2 probably. Very glad I got it for $2 though, because I put it into my, I was supposed to say Hank Osborne, because I was thinking of like green. I was like, Hank Green. Anyway, put +1/+1 counters, not really caring about that. Discarding our lands, get treasure tokens, very nice. And that's a good amount of card advantage, especially how many ways you have to discard in red and green. So, B tier goes. Green Goblin Revenant. Flying Death Touch attacks, discard a card, then draw a card for each card you've discarded this turn. So in theory, it just sounds like attack, discard one, draw one. But like we just said, with green and black, red and black, you have plenty of ways to discard cards every turn. You can discard your hand, draw a new hand, discard your hand, draw a new hand, and then attack with him and draw 3 new hands essentially. So I think that's still C tier though, because you do self attack and he has 5 mana. So there he goes. Guru Patik enters top 5 cards of your library. Reveal a lesson, put it into your hand. Rest in random order. Cast Lesson, Saga, or Shrine. Put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature you control. You have to cast them. But we're putting it into our hand. We're in blue, so we have plenty of ways to blink it. We have plenty of ways to make sure we're getting this out earlier than turn 4. But you're still just putting them into your hand. You're not getting stuff on the board for free. It's a little bit of draw power. C tier goes. Gwen Stacy enters. Exile top card of your library. May play a card for as long as you control this creature. Transformer into Ghost Spider. Flying, Vigilance, Haste. Whenever you play a land from exile, cast a spell from exile. Put a +1/+1 counter on Ghost Spider. A little bit worse version of Zuko. Remove 2 counters. Exile top card of your library. Play that card this turn. A little bit better version of Zuko, because you're able to actually get your stuff from exile in order to get that there. Is it enough better to go into B tier? I think so. I think she deserves B tier. So you're getting it initially, then you can keep on getting it with the other ability. Yeah. Halia, Ascending Cadet. For 2 green and 2 white, you get Drapery. Enters or attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Whenever one or more creatures you control with +1/+1 counters on them deal combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card. Doesn't give anything trample. You're in green, so you have plenty of ways to give stuff trample. You have plenty of ways to give everything +1/+1 counters, so you're drawing a lot of cards off this. Are you drawing enough though? Whenever one or more creatures you control deal damage on them, deal damage to a player. So in theory, you're drawing 3 every turn. I think still C tier there. Like, you didn't draw enough, in theory. It doesn't give tough tramples, like the only problem. If you give yourself a +1/+1 counter and trample, we'd be talking a different note. Singing a different note. Hama, the Bloodbender. Enters, target opponent mills 3 cards, exile to 1 target non-creature, non-land card from that player's graveyard. For as long as you control Hama, you may cast an exile card, your turn. Waterbending X, rather than its mana cost. If you can't waterbend, you have to pay its normal mana cost. So you can't cheat casting costs. It's a little bit card advantage once she enters. I don't think, well, in theory, you could steal anything from their graveyard, though. Doesn't need to be something you just milled. So, C tier goes. Followed up with Hashaton, Scarab's Fist. Whenever you discard a creature card, you may pay 2 in a blue. Create a tap token that's a copy of that card, except that it's a 4/4 zombie. We're in blue and we're in black, so we have plenty of ways to discard cards. Is this better than some Diadrine? I think so. But they're not from the same set. Is this better than Captain Howler? I don't think so, because you still have to pay enough mana to do it in the first place. I think it still deserves a B tier, because it does get you back your creatures for just a little bit more, and it doesn't care how many times you do it as long as you got that mana. And followed up with Hearthold, the World Seed. For 1 black, green, and red, you get a station, 6/7. 2+ for its station. Sacrifice land, draw 2 cards. It may play an additional land card this turn. Very nice. And then Flying, Vigilance, Haste. Whenever you sacrifice land, each opponent loses 2 life. Playing extra lands is nice. Sacrificing lands is nice, especially if you're running this precon. Playing extra lands is nice. All good abilities. I don't think enough for A tier. I do think it does still deserve B tier though. Hey bye, Forest Guardian. Whenever it enters, reveal a card from the top of your library until you reveal a shrine. You may put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle. For each legendary enchantment you control, get a 1/1 Hollow Spirit creature token that can't block or be blocked by non-spirit creature tokens. I think that's enough to go in A tier. I don't know how, but you're getting all your shrines. Well, you're a little bit limited to just shrines, aren't you? I don't think it's that limited, though, because you're essentially getting any shrine you want from your deck. Even if you just run one shrine, you're guaranteed that shrine. And you're in 5 colors, so you have plenty of ways to blink it, keep on getting that ability, keep on getting more shrines. Really good ability. Following up with not so good Heibai, Spirits Bounce. Whenever Heibai attack, aren't they the same spirit? Oh no, it does say Spirit Bounce, it does say Spirits. May sacrifice another creature or artifact. If you do, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Heibai. Leaves battlefield, puts counters on target creature you control. So it's buffing up one other creature, essentially, and buffing up itself. The sacrifice outlay is nice. I don't think it's nice enough to go above F tier, though, personally. Hilbrand, Manderville. Create a 2/2 zombie. Creature can control get +1/+1. Dies, may cast it from your graveyard as an adventure until end of your next turn. I don't think that's good enough to go above D tier. You're just getting another zombie and a little bit of buff for your zombies. That's why it's good enough for D tier, though. Hope Esteem, one commander I really like and everyone hates when I play it. 2/2 lifelink for Azorius. Beginning of your end step, each opponent mills X cards where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. You gain all the life, your opponent mills all their cards. You double up the amount of life you gain, you double up the amount of cards you mill because you have ways to do that when you're in blue and white. It's really fun, but everyone hates it. And you're not in theory getting any card advantage off of him. So I could see the argument for putting him into D tier. Just because, he won't make it till the end of the turn. He's not that good. And honestly, I have to keep with consistency over personal preference. D tier goes. Ignis, Scientia, 1 and Simic for 2/2. Whenever it enters, look at the top 6 cards of your library, put land from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Rest on the bottom of your library. May pay 1 in Simic, tap it. Exile top card of your library. If a creature card is exiled this way, you get a food. We like food. We like getting lands. We're in blue, we have ways to blink them. Only at the top 6. If it was just put land on the battlefield, I could see B tier, but I think just since it's only a top 6, C tier goes. Oh god, we still have 155 more of these. We might break this into 2 videos. Infinite Guideline Station for WUBRG. You get a 7/15 once you get 12 other stuff on the board. Enters, create tap 2/2 robot creature token for each not multicolored permanent you control. Whenever this attacks, draw cards for each multicolored permanent you control. In theory, you're getting a lot of cards you're drawing, and a lot of robots. In theory, those robots could station a 12. Here's the thing, they enter tapped. If they didn't enter tapped, I would say this is probably the best commander from Edge of Eternities. But because they enter tapped, I think it is going to be enough draw power to put into B tier. Don't get me wrong there. But because they enter tapped, it's going to be so hard to station them. B tier goes. Following up with Inspirit Flagship Vessel. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put your choice of +1/+1 counter on 2 charge counters on up to 1 other target artifact. So you can't put them on Inspirit himself. Flying other artifacts you control have hexproof and indestructible. It's a nice buff for other creatures. I very much enjoy the buff it gives, and it's very nice, especially because you have so many other ways in white and blue to give Inspirit himself indestructible. I think still, though, just for consistency, it's going to be going into D tier. Followed up with Iroh, Grand Lotus. I forgot about this commander. During your turn, I know it was only a month ago, but there's so many Avatar commanders. Sorcery card from your graveyard, flashback. Flashback cost is equal to its mana cost. Lesson spells only cost 1 to cast from your graveyard. That much recursion is very nice. Only being able to do it during your turn is the downside we have there. In theory, you could storm off and just win. He's also 6 mana. If it was like during either player's turn, A tier easily. But because it's just during your turn, it's still good enough for B, I'd say. Iroh, Team Master. Create a food token at the beginning of combat on your turn. May have target opponent gain control target permanent you control. Get 1/1 white ally creature token. It's like okay. It's not great. You're giving your opponent a food and getting a little bit of a strong creature token. But that's about it. I know, like, in theory, you could give your opponent 9 lives and stuff. I don't think you're running into that enough to put it into D tier, though. I think it still goes in F tier, my personal opinion. Iron Spider, Stark upgrade. No, we can put in D tier. He deserves D tier. Iron Spider, Stark upgrade. Put a +1/+1 counter on each artifact creature and vehicle you control. Remove 2 +1/+1 counters among artifacts you control in order to draw a card. So we tap, put our counters, move those counters, draw cards. Untap them, retap them, untap them, retap them until we draw out our whole deck. Because we're in artifacts and we could do that normally. I do think only C tier though, because odds of you running into that aren't as likely as I'm trying to make it out to be. Then we have Jackal, Genius Geneticist. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value equal to Jackal's power, copy that spell. Except it isn't legendary. Put a +1/+1 counter on Jackal, and you can't really like easily run something around like a specific casting cost, because then like you get stronger and you don't get that same casting cost. Getting copies of your spells, very nice. In terms of how limited it is, I think it's D tier. Following up with Jenova, Ancient Calamity. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter equal to Jenova's power up to 1 other target creature. The creature is also a mutant. Whenever a mutant you control dies, draw cards equal to its power. So one of my favorite things to do in Magic is deck yourself out. That's why I enjoy trying to mill other people's out so that they can enjoy the same fun that I enjoy. Did I put Kratos here? I think I did, yeah. Whoops. Move from there. Sorry, got distracted. That could be a lot of draw power that you're getting off this card. You start making all the other mutants, you sacrifice them because you're in black, and you have plenty of ways to do that. I think that's deserving of A tier. Sorry, B tier. Not good enough for A tier. I don't think it reaches top 10. Following up, we have Jet, Freedom Fighter. Enters, deal damage equal to the number of creatures you control target opponent. Target creature and opponent controls. Dies, put 2 +1/+1 counters on each of up to 2 target creatures. I don't think it's 5 mana in Boros in order to remove a creature, essentially. I think that's F tier. Jin Sakai, Ghost of Tsushima. Whenever Jin Sakai deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Whenever you attack a player, you get to give a creature either double strike or unblockable. Making sure Jin Sakai does that damage, or does that damage twice in order to draw some cards. Making sure your other creatures get that same bonus because you're in blue, and you have plenty of ways to get the Biden and Bassett effect. I really like this commander. He deserves the A tier. This one I'm really happy I got to build in real life. Then we have Joshua, Phoenix is Dominant. Enters, discard up to 2 cards, and then draw that many cards. So discard 2, draw 2. Exile, return to the battlefield transformed as Phoenix, Warden of Fire. Deal 2 damage to each opponent. Return any number of target creature cards with total mana value 6 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Recursion is nice, but you have to wait 3 turns to do it. Otherwise, you're getting a little bit of draw power. C tier. Judge Magister Brand. Menace, whenever another creature or artifact you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So, in theory, you could get a really strong creature. And I mean like really strong, because you keep on going with the aristocrat styles, and you may just get infinite power. And it has Menace, so it is able to deal damage to your opponent. What are you getting at the end of the day? Just a strong creature. F tier goes Katara the Fearless. If a triggered ability of an ally you control triggers, it happens at additional time. A little bit too similar to like how Choco has a very good ability. It's a little bit too reliant on just running allies. It is a very good ability. Allies have a lot of really good triggered abilities. Most of them have just triggered abilities. In terms of how good it is, though, I think still C tier, just because it is just allies that's benefiting at the end of the day. Then we have Katara, Water Tribe's Hope. Create a 1/1 white ally creature token, Waterbend X. Creatures you control have base power toughness XX till end of turn. X can't be 0. Can't sacrifice all your creatures. Sorry about that. We get the token. We can create more tokens because we're in white. In terms of how often you're doing that, though, you're getting just a buff on all your creatures, which is very nice, especially if you have enough tokens to overwhelm your opponent with. You probably have enough to buff them up a lot, but I don't think it's enough to go above D tier personally. Following up, we have Kefka, Court Mage. Whenever Kefka enters their text, I forgot about this card too, but I know it's very good because I versed it recently. Enters their text, each player discards a card. You draw a card for each card type among those cards. Eventually, you can pay 8 in order to transform him into Kefka, Ruler of Ruin. And whenever an opponent loses life during your turn, you draw that many cards. It's a lot of draw power. As flying, it's easy to get that draw power off. His front side, also very good. Giving your opponent card disadvantage, just giving you card advantage, and also giving you card advantage. That's A tier. Good job, Kefka. On top of that, we also have Kefka, Dancing Man. Whenever during your turn, Kefka has Indestructible. During your end step, exile a card at random from each opponent's graveyard. Cast any number of spells from among cards exiled this way without paying a mana cost. Then each player who owns a spell you cast this way loses life equal to its mana value. It's very nice to steal your opponent's stuff. We could steal a whole bunch of stuff. Exile a card at random is the downside there. If your opponent has one card in the graveyard, though, that's the only thing you can worry about. Especially if you keep running like Bojuka Bog. It is also 7 mana. But you do get 3 cards every turn. I could see B tier, but I think just because it's 7 mana and it's a random effect, I think it goes C tier. Ketchermos, the New Dawn. Menace, lifelink, indestructible. Ketchermos can't attack or block unless there are 7 or more cards in exile. Whenever 1 or more cards are put into exile from a graveyard or the battlefield during your turn, draw a card and lose a life. Okay, so you know like how in white you have all these good effects that say like when this creature enters, you get XYZ effect. Imagine if also when you did any of those effects, you also got to draw an additional card because when you're blinking those creatures, you get them again. Yeah, very good. You also have the spot in order to exile stuff from your graveyard now. I might be limiting A tier to too few with just 10. We can always move stuff down to B tier if we find stuff that like overrides it. It's just too good of an ability to pass up. I think A tier. Yeah, I think we're still keeping it to the top 10, but we're moving stuff around as we get down to it. Kilo, Apogee Mine. Becomes tap, proliferate. Doesn't give you counters to begin with, but like tends to be fine because you have plenty of stuff to proliferate. Especially like if you're in blue, you have poison counters to your opponent. Start proliferating those. You have ways to tap, untap, tap, untap, and keep on going until you proliferate enough poison counters to win the game. Is it good enough to go above B tier? I don't think good enough for B tier just because it doesn't give you like straight card advantage, but it gives you enough advantage where I think C tier is worth it. I just realized like if you wanted to buy all the commanders, it's 250, 312, 723, 740, $790 if you want to buy all the commanders printed this year. Wow. Kamari, Valiant Guardian. For 2 and Simic, he had 3/3 with Vigilance. If you have combat in your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Kamari and tap target creature an opponent controls. Then you may have Kamari become a copy of that creature, except its name is Kamari. Vigilance and has this ability as well. Very good ability. Copying your opponent's stuff is very nice for you, not for your opponent. It's a little bit reliant on what your opponents have, though, is the only thing. I mean, you're going to be stronger than any creature that they try blocking with, which is cool. Which they also can't block with it because you're tapping it. At the end of the day, you're just getting like a little bit too reliant on what your opponent has to go above D tier here for us. It is definitely more than a strong creature, so it does go above that F tier. Cullinan, Triumph Caster, mounts and vehicles you control have haste. Whenever a mount you control enters, it becomes saddled until end of turn. Whenever a vehicle you control enters, it becomes an artifact creature. So it's very good for mounts and vehicle commander. Is that good for commander? I think it's okay. Doesn't give you a straight card advantage, so not deserving a B tier. Um, is it good enough for C tier? I don't. It's similar to like a lot of our other D tier commanders. I'd say, where it's just giving a bit of a buff to your other creatures. I'd say D tier goes. Codis, Sipsig Champion. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a creature spell from your graveyard by exiling 3 other cards from your graveyard in addition to its other costs. Once during each of your turns. Okay. Whenever one or more creature cards. Oops, sorry. I had to readjust my seat. Whenever one or more creatures you control enter, if one of them entered from a graveyard or cast from a graveyard, put 2+1/+1 counters on Codis. Okay. It's a little bit of recursion. C tier you go. Codis, Defend Keeper. Whenever Codis deals combat damage to a player, exile top X cards out their library, or X amount of damage dealt. He doesn't have trample, but doesn't matter. And then you may cast any number of spells with mana value X or less from among them without paying their mana cost. So, say if you get Codis up to like a 20/20 and like you just deal 20 damage to your opponent, you just get to cast all their spells for free. And then, can't deal another damage to them because then you'll lose all the spells. Stealing stuff in blue and black, very easy. Green gets you that trample, gets you that those buffs with some +1/+1 counters. Plenty of ways to make it unblockable. I could see A tier. I like this one like enough for A tier, I'd say. I could see it being one of the ones moved down to B tier though. Honestly, like I think the first one will move down. It's either Heybuy or Cloud. We'll see as we get there. Craven the Hunter. If anyone watched the gameplay video on this one, you know how much I enjoy this how much my wife enjoys this commander. Trample. Whenever a creature you control with power greater than whenever your opponent sacrifices a greatest power creature, you get +1/+1 counter and get to draw a card. You're in black. You have plenty of ways to make sure your opponent's sacrificing like their strongest creature. You're doing that during each turn. Each opponent keeps on doing it. You get to draw 3 cards during each of your opponent's turn. I think Heybuy moves down. Craven moves up. Yeah, as odd as it feels to say, I think Craven might be like our favorite Spider-Man commander, and we didn't have a Spider-Man commander here yet. Oh wait, do we have an Avatar? Yep, we still have Avatar Aang up there. Yeah, because now we have a Spider-Man, a Tarkir, Aether Drift, PlayStation, Edge of Eternities. So we have 2 from Aether Drift and 2 from Tarkir and 2 from what was this? Final Fantasy. Okay, so we'll see as we get there. Craven, Proud Predator. Power is equal to the greatest mana value among permanents you control. Just gonna be a strong creature. F tier goes. Cryo, Baldesion. For Azorius, you get 2/1. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may return target creature card with mana value equal to that spell's mana value from your graveyard to your hand. Has to be exactly equal. A little bit limited in terms of like what you're able to recur as a result. You're not getting the stuff onto the battlefield for free. I think D tier. Kuja, Genome Sorcerer. Being of your end step, create a 0/1 Black Wizard creature token where whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get to deal damage, and eventually he doubles up the damage for your wizards. Which you got the wizards, double up the damage from the wizards. He's a wizard himself, so you're dealing double like commander damage. Very good ability. In terms of like, it's better than like what's it called Black Waltz number 3 because you're enabling the ability yourself by getting those extra wizards. But you have to wait till your end phase, and you have to wait a bit to get to the flip side. Super fun commander. In terms of like ability, I think still C tier. Logoran, Soul of Alakria. For Simic, you get a nope, not Simic. Selesnya. Flying whenever this attacks while saddled. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target mounts or vehicles. Saddle 1. Has to attack. Has to attack while saddled. You're in Selesnya, not that hard to get one thing to saddle it. Each of up to 2 target mounts or vehicles. So like you buffing up another creature sometimes. I think D tier. It powers up another creature. Is it? I think actually F tier. It doesn't power up stuff enough to go up into D tier. Like some of our other stuff in D tier is just a little bit too strong compared to it. Oh, there we go. We have Lightning Army of One. Really fun commander. Gives you that double damage anytime you deal damage. She's good dealing damage herself. First try makes it so she does damage first, and then all your other stuff also does that damage to your opponent. Trample, make sure you do that damage. Lifelink, just kind of nice. Yeah, it's no card advantage, but it's still C tier. Just because like being able to double the damage and double the damage when you have all your red sources, very nice. Living Brain, Mechanical Marvel. 3/3. At the beginning of combat turn, target non-equipment artifact you control becomes an artifact creature. Base power and toughness 3/3 till end of turn. Untap it. It's 4 mana. Is it better than Doc Ock, the one that we have? I think so, because you're untapping the creature. It's like, I think we might put Doc Ock down into. No, it still buffs up another creature. Untapping something is just nice for like your artifact decks. That's why we're putting it into D tier still. Lock Hole, Death Touch, Lifelink, deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card. A little bit of draw power is nice. You're relying on you dealing combat damage. Doesn't have, it's Death Touch, so your opponent's not going to want to block it. Doesn't have Double Strike, but you do go card neutral, essentially. So, since it goes card neutral, D tier. Lock, Treasure Hunter. Can be blocked by creatures with greater power. Attacks, each player mills a card. Land card mill this way, create a treasure token. Wait, attacks, each player mills a card. Okay. And then until end of turn, you may cast a spell. If a land card was milled this way. Okay, so you only get a treasure token. Until end of turn, you may cast a spell among those cards. Only one. Stealing stuff from your opponent. A little bit of card advantage with that treasure token and stealing their stuff. So, C tier he goes. So far, we have 10 in A, 23 in B, 34 in C, 28 in D, and 12 in F. I feel like this is an appropriate list so far. Long Fang, Grand Secretariat for 1, and I can never remember color combination names. Black and green. For 2/3, whenever another creature you control or land you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Very nice in terms of going infinite with this one. In terms of enabling the play itself, it does very much enable those infinite combos with the persist combos. It doesn't revive anything on its own, and a lot of those decks work on their own without him. Yeah, I think still ends up in C tier though. It enables too many infinite combos not to go below C tier. Loot, the Pathfinder, Double Strike, Vigilance, Haste. Exhaust means you can only activate it once for the rest of the duel, but that doesn't matter if you blink it because you're in blue. Green, add 3 mana. Blue, draw 3 cards. Red, deal 3 damage to any target. All very good abilities. Does rely on you blinking it. It does have haste, so you could use all its abilities. When it gets blinked, it also gets untapped, and you could use another one of those abilities. Since it does still have the haste, is it enough to go above? I think it's enough to go into B tier, because, like, if someone told me, like, oh, you have an Ancestral Recall in the command zone, I'd be like, what do you mean? And they're just like, oh, yeah, just, like, pay a blue, and you get to draw 3 cards? I take that deal. Least Hexed, Prowess, non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever you cast 2 or more non-creature spells this turn, gets Double Strike. Essentially, it's a little bit of cost reduction, not enough cost reduction to go above D tier though. Mayan Zuko, Firebending 3, whenever you cast an ally spell, artifacts and allies have flash, essentially. Very good ability, especially with the Firebending 3, letting you get those abilities in the first place. In terms of how good that is, though, yeah, I mean, like, it's a little bit limited by the allies and, like, the artifacts, but, like, similar to Katara. That's why we're putting it in the C tier, just because that limitation. That's also why we moved Heibai down. It's a little bit limited by shrines. Mary Jane Watson, whenever a spider you control enters, draw a card. Only happens once each turn. This could have been pretty okay. But since it's limited to spiders, and there's not like a million good spiders, I think it still goes into the F tier. Like, it is card advantage. It's in theory 4 cards every turn. It's not an average. We're going to be 4 cards every turn. Mendicant Core, Guidelight. For Azorius, you get a Star Jury, where stars equals the number of artifacts you control. Whenever you cast an artifact spell while you have max speed, you pay 1, get a copy of it. Start your engines. Very fun in terms of like the start your engines mechanic. Takes a little bit too long to get going. Being able to copy your artifacts though, once you get there, very good ability, so I think it still deserves the B tier. There's putting a lot of H-Drift commanders into B tier. Probably more than they deserve. Miles, Tails per hour, Flash, Flying. Whenever a vehicle you control enters, draw a card if it has flying. Otherwise, put a flying counter on it. Enables its own place, gets that draw power. It's whenever a vehicle you control flying deals common damage, so it could deal it with multiples. I think good enough for P tier, in all honesty. Anyway, Miles Morales. 1 in a green, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Or you pay 3 and green, white, red for Ultimate Spider-Man. First strike, haste. Put a +1/+1 counter on this card, gains hexproof until end of turn, and becomes colorless. And whenever you attack, double the number of each kind of counter on each spider and legendary creature you control. Means easy enough to run a lot of like legendary creatures. It protects itself, which is very nice. Is it more than just enough of a boost? I think it's enough of a boost. Oh no, it's still 5 mana. Oh, in green. Doesn't really matter. I think it still deserves C. It's enough of a boost where it could go in C tier, in my opinion. Mimeoplasm. Revered one. For X and green, white, black. Sorry, green, blue, black. Mimeoplasm enters. Exile X creature cards from your graveyard. Enters with 3+1/+1 counters on it for each creature card exiled this way. We could exile it as long as we had the mana. That could be a lot of cards we exile. Is it more than just a strong creature? Because it's a copy target exile card to exile and has this ability. I mean, like, it can become like a creature that does a lot when it like deals combat damage, which is nice. I think still just C tier though. Sorry, D tier for that though. Mr. Negative. When Mr. Negative enters, exchange life totals with target opponent. Lost life this way, draw the many cards. So, we get our life total high, keep our opponents low, draw a bunch of cards, and give them a high life total. Or, keep our life total low, keep our opponents high, and then, bring them down and put us up. We keep on blinking him because you're in white. Only thing is, he is 7 mana, and every time I try playing it, I can never get him on the board soon enough to make an actual impact. Which, like, you don't want him on the board too soon, but, like, still, you want him on the board. And I think that's B tier, still. Memnon, Earthros Exile. Whenever an artifact you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Buffing up other creatures, you're in red and blue, you have enough ways to get artifacts on the board. D tier goes. Moogle Warrior. Beginning of each end step, each player discards a card. Each player who discarded a card this way draws a card. Giving benefit to your opponent as well in that point. If a creature discarded this way, you create a 1/2 Moogle with lifelink. Non-creature cards discarded this way, put a +1/+1 counter on each Moogle you control. Either getting Moogles or buffing Moogles. That's just other creatures getting buffed. D tier goes. Momo, Playful Pet. No, this isn't a multicolored commander. Get out of here. We were ranked you. I don't know where we ranked it, but we did earlier. Morbius, Living Vampire. 3/1 with Flying, Vigilance, and Lifelink. Exile from your graveyard. Top 3 cards of your library. 1's your hand. Rest on the bottom. Okay. A little bit of card knowledge, which you're not using too often because we would have to have it in the graveyard. And other than that, it's just a strong creature. F tier goes. Narset, Jeskai Waymaster. Beginning of your end step, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw cards equals the number of spells you cast this turn. You're in Jeskai. You're going to be able to cast a whole bunch of cards all during the same turn. You're going to storm off. And then you have a fresh new hand in order to storm off again the next turn. Really good ability. Who would we move out of A tier is the only question. Because this isn't, I feel like this is an A tier commander. I think we can move Cloud out. Cloud doesn't seem like enough of an A tier commander compared to what else we have here. I think the next move will probably be Kodos, just because it doesn't have like the ability to deal damage itself. Following up with Nathan Drake, Treasure Hunter. May spend mana to cast spells that aren't yours as mana of any type. and steal one of your opponent's stuff from top of each opponent's stack, essentially. Really fun ability. You're in the right colors to be doing it as well. You have to attack in order to do it. Yeah, first strikes, like, it's not that hard to deal damage. You're also in red, so you have plenty of ways to give yourself haste. You're getting enough card advantage, but you're not getting to cast it for free. So, I think it's still C tier. Nariv, Crackling Vanguard. For 2 in red, white, black, you get a 4/4 flying dot touch. Nariv enters, get a couple goblins, and whenever Nariv attacks, exile the number of cards from the top of your library equals the number of differently named tokens you control. During any turn you attacked with a commander, you may play those cards. So Nariv is just like a cool ability because like getting to use like tokens of like multiple different names, really fun. In terms of like how many cards you're actually able to exile, it doesn't like make that much of a difference because even if like it's like exile 1 and like cast it at a later time, it's still worth the B tier, I'd say. Nariv, Heart of the Storm. Initially, I ranked this one really high, like when the set first came out. I played this one for a while, and I did like those really cool combos where you get to deal 1,000,000 damage to each opponent because you're doubling up the damage, and then you run all the different ways to double up the damage. And all the ways to give it haste because you're in red, all the ways to make sure getting those creatures out because you're in white, all the ways to make sure your opponent doesn't have card advantage with black, tokens with white, all the fun stuff like you have for this one. Just in terms of like your opponent removing this creature, it will detriment like the rest of the deck a little bit. So I think it is still it's similar to Black Waltz Number 3. It goes in the D tier. Noctis, Heir Apparent. I know I just made this one, but I forgot what it does already. Whenever a creature you control enters, during each combat, you may attach target equipment you control to target creature you control. Okay, as long as that creature enters turn, right? Yep. So like the comment section this one pointed out, you don't get the on attack declaration like effects from your equipment, which like that's fine. And also you do get just cheaty equipment costs. You do get the damage dealing like effects on them, which sometimes that's all you need. I think still C tier though. It's just cheating some equipment costs. Noctis, Prince of Lucius. Whenever you cast an artifact spell from your graveyard by paying 3 life in addition to its other cost, play this card. Get with finale counter essentially. Nice source of recursion. You're still actually no. Move the other Noctis up to B tier. We'll put this Noctis in C tier because it's a good source of recursion. Just not good enough for B tier. Norman Osborn. Whenever he attacks, deals combat damage, you get to connive, which he's very easily able to do because he can't be blocked. You pay one a blue, a green, and a red for the Green Goblin Flying Menace. Spells you cast from your graveyard cost 2 less to cast. Discard a Juska's Will, get a 1 mana Juska's Will. Discard a Frantic Search, you get to untap 3 lands for the cost of 1 land. Discard, you play Gamble, play like a Bolus of Citadel that you're now getting for 4 mana. All the stuff that you're going to discard, and you're going to discard with his front side. I just very much enjoy his commander, and like I've had a few games where I've won like turn 3, turn 4 with this commander. Like if you get him out early enough, I think he is A tier, and I think we're moving Kodos down to the B tier. See, nope, that's right. Craven's up there. And then Edge of Eternities, we have Diadrine still. Okay, cool. Following that up, we have Omega, Heartless Evolution. Enters for each opponent, tapped up to 1 target non-land permanent that opponent controls. Put X stun counters on each of those permanents. Gain X life for X's number of non-basic lands you control. Enters for each opponent, tap up to 1 target non-land permanent that opponent controls. Put X. So gaining a little bit of life. You're in Simic, so like it's super easy to like get that mana in order to get the 7 on the board. Essentially, you're just gaining life and stunning a creature temporarily, which I think stunning them still puts in D tier. So remember, card disadvantage for your opponents, card advantage for you. Ozai, the Phoenix King. Trample, Firebending 4, haste. If you lose unspent mana becomes red instead. Indestructible as long as you have 6 or more unspent mana. He's basically going to always be indestructible. He has so many ways to get infinite combats with this guy. Ozai, B tier goes. I feel like I just talked about that one like recently, so that's why I put into there so quickly. Final we have Papalimo Totalimo. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, deal 1 damage to each opponent, and you gain life. So similar to Black Waltz number 2, but a little bit worse. 4, sacrifice this card. Each opponent who lost life during this turn sacrifices a creature. Greatest power. Yeah, no, that's D tier. It's not bad enough for F tier because you're still having a little bit of removal, you still have a little bit of damage, but still not enough for it to go above it. We're down to the final 100. We're almost there. Peter Parker enters, get a spider, transform him into Amazing Spider-Man. Each legendary spell you cast that's 1 or more colors has Web Sling Dream. Well, sorry, green, white, blue. You're in green, so you have plenty of ways to get stuff. You're in green, so you have plenty of ways to get tapped creatures. Like, there's so many legendary creatures in green, white, and blue. You have ways to blink those creatures. This way, if like you cheat them in and they have good enters ability, you just get them again. I really like this one. Not as much as the other Spider-Man commanders that we have in the A tier, though. So, B tier goes. He might be better than Kraven. PNLR Chief Mechanic. For green, blue, and a red, whenever 1 or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you get 2 energy counters. Okay? At your end step, you may pay 1 or more energy counters. Get an XX vehicle named... I can't read what it says. I don't have my glasses. Flying crew 2, X is number of energy spent this way. Okay. I feel like they just find X twice. You could get a strong creature. You're getting that energy off of her own ability. Is it enough? Because you're just bumping up another creature. I think it's D tier. I could see arguments for F as well, honestly. Professor Zay, Anthropologist. Discard a card, draw a card, sacrifices, return target instant sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. Has recursion, has draw power, has a way to get stuff into your graveyard. I think that's C tier. Prowler, Claude Thief, Menace. Whenever another villain you control enters, Prowler connives, eventually making him into a strong creature with a little bit of draw power. You're having that draw power benefit you a little bit. You're very reliant on villains. And villains are much more limited creature type than allies or birds. So I think he still ends up in the D tier because of that. Regast, Deaf Gastronaut. Artifacts you control are food in addition to their other types. Sacrifice the food, deal 3 damage to each opponent. They have each on step if you gain life this turn, untap or ghost. So you get that secondary ability again, as long as you sacrifice the food or do some other stuff. I think, yeah, just comes that effect's repeatable. It's nice, but like, is it better than Black Waltz number 3? I don't think so. Well, then again, making all your stuff like sacrificable is kind of cool. Once again, no, I don't think best, like, good enough for C tier. Red 13, Proud Warrior. For 1, a red and a green, you read Vigilance and Trample. Other modified creatures you control have Vigilance and Trample as well. 1 red 13 enters, return an aura equipment from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, limited recursion, buffs your other creatures, D tier. Redshift, Rocketeer Chief. Add X-Man of any one color where X is this creature's power. Only activate abilities, but use it for its own exhaustibility. Put any number of permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Okay, so this one is one that I feel like I saw everywhere when it first came out. Have I seen it anywhere recently? No. Does this sound like a fun ability? Yes. You're in red and green. It shouldn't be too hard to get. Do you like sneak attack? If you're in red, yes you do. In theory, you can buff this up enough. It's also permanent, so you get you run auras, you run enchant, you can run equipments, and it should be easy to do. I don't know if it's. It should be B tier. I think it still does get B tier for me. Rhino, Rampaging Brute. Taxed if you cast a spell mana by 4 greater this turn, draw a card. Drawing a card sometimes maybe. D tier. Renoir, Heart Lily, enters, get a 1/1 dog named Angelo. When this creature attacks, target creature you control gets +1/+1 till end of turn. For each creature you control. It's just, actually, no. That's even F tier. Get into the F tier. There you go. Yeah, I just don't think it's good enough. It just gives you a strong creature eventually, and a dog. Like, it could be a really strong creature, but that's about it. Speaking of dog, with Rufus, Shinra. Enters our attacks, setting up just one attacks. If you don't control a creature named Darkstar, get Darkstar. Okay. Just get one token, sometimes maybe. F tier. That's not good enough for D tier. Radia, Summoner of the Mist, and land enters, discard a card, draw a card. Okay, we like that ability. Whenever when return target saga card with mana X from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter. Gains haste. Just still good because like you have plenty of saga creatures. You have recursion, you have draw power, you have all the stuff you wanted to do to get stuff into the graveyard to begin with. But still, I just think it's limited by sagas, similar to how Qatar is limited by allies. C tier. Sabsunin, Luxan, Body. That creature shows everywhere. Reach, Trample, Indestructible. Can't attack or block unless you control an even number of counters on it. But if your first main phase, put a +1/+1 counter on Sabsunin. Then if it had an odd number of counters on it, draw 2 cards. Okay, so you're going to draw 2 cards every turn. Sometimes maybe though. I think still C tier because like you get like every other turn, so it's essentially draw a card every turn. Saheeli, Radiant Creator, for 1 green, a blue, and a red. You may cast an artifact spell. Sorry, whenever you cast an artifact spell, get energy counter. At the beginning of combat your turn, you may pay 3 energies. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control. Ooh, except it's a 5/5 artifact creature token in addition to its other types with haste. Does have to go away, but still, you gain those energy counters pretty easily with this deck. Are you getting enough? I think so. I think it's still B tier. Like getting a second copy of your best thing temporarily, even if it's something like has an enters ability, has an attacks ability, you get the haste. I like to see it. Sammy, Ship's Engineer. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tapped creatures, get a 2/2 robot, getting a token sometimes maybe. That's the D tier. Sammy, Wild. Ooh, I forgot about this commander. Do we move one of our other commanders? Do we move Diadrine down for Sammy? Double Strike Vigilance spells you cast have affinity for artifacts. We might have to move Diadrine down. No, there's still 6 mana. Yeah, if it wasn't 6 mana, this would basically make all your stuff essentially free, potentially. But because of that, I think it ends up in the B tier. Like, honestly, really good effect, limited by what it has. Samut, the Driving Force, probably the best start your engines commander. Start your engines. Other creatures control get +X/+0, where X is your speed. Non-creature spells you cast cost X less to cast, where X is your speed. So turn 1, you get speed. Attack that turn, get another speed. And then 2 turns later, you get another speed. You get max speed. Which means that all your non-creature spells are reduced by 4. Which basically means that you pay 1 mana for Cultivate, 1 mana for Kodamas Reach. I take that deal. In terms of who's our other 8th Drift commander here? Ketchamos, and Ketchamos the only one? We have to remove either Felidar or Narset or Craven or Norman, which I don't know if any of those are as good as Samut. Like you run extra combat spells, you just have a bunch of strong creatures. You get those extra combat spells for like 1 red mana sometimes, and it's really fun. But like it's a little bit limited in terms of like getting that speed. Scarlet Spider, Ben Riley, web slinging for green and red, trample. Was cast using web sling ability and so X+1/+1 counters where X is mana value to return creature. You're getting a strong creature with trample. F tier. Scarlet Spider, Kane. Menace, Scarlet Spider enters, you may discard a card, put a +1/+1 counter on him, and Mayhem. You may discard a card if you do. Oh. Just a weak creature with Menace. Not even a strong creature with Menace. It may have been its own lower tier, in all honesty. Safer, Balam Rival. First strike. Whenever you attack a player, go target creature that player controls. Whenever a creature attacking one of your opponents becomes blocked by 2 or more creatures, that attacking creature gains Death Touch. If only we could give all of our... We do have ways to give our opponents all their creatures menace. Goading your opponent's creatures is potentially removing a lot of their creatures. Whenever you attack a player, goad a creature. You're only goading a creature. That creature gets Death Touch if it's blocked. We'll put it into D tier. I don't think it goads enough. If it goaded like all creatures that player controls, it'd be broken. Sensational Spider-Man. For if it was like when his creature attacks, go to creature each player controls, they would be talking. Sensational Spider-Man attacks, tap target creature owning controls. Then you may move up to 3 stun counters from among all permanents. Draw 3 cards. Equal to the number of star encounters. So you're drawing up to 3 cards every turn as long as this creature is attacking. It's relying on it attacking a little bit too much. So we'll put it into C tier. Sephiroth, Fallen Hero. Attacks may put a cell counter on target creature control that comes to 7/5. Sacrifice a modified creature, aka +1/+1 counters and equipments. Return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And then you get the counter again. You're getting a whole bunch of 7/5s. All your modified creatures are 7/5s, not just the ones with the cell counters. This is buffing up your creatures a lot. And it has the recursion for itself. But like, you don't really need the recursion in the command zone. But still, very nice. C tier because it has that recursion. Sephiroth, Planet's Heir. It's Massacre Worm type effect, except instead of dealing damage, you get some +1/+1 counters for also 6 mana. It's gonna end up just being a strong creature that removes a bunch of your opponent's creatures. If it was 5 mana, maybe C tier, but it's 6 mana. That's D tier. Sarah, Farron. Whenever you cast your first legendary spell each turn, costs 2 less, a little bit of cost reduction. That's always nice. If combat your turn, if you control 2 or more other legendary creatures, you can transform her into Crystallized Sarah. First legendary creature spell you cast each turn. Wait, first legendary. Okay, it's both creature spells. And then legendary creatures control get +2/+2. So a little bit of a stat boost, a little bit of cost reduction. Still D tier just because it's a little bit limited by legendary creatures. It's only the first one each turn. Setzer, Wandering Gambler. 1 black and red for a 2/2. Enters, create the Blackjack, a legendary 3/3 vehicle artifact token with flying crew 2. Vehicle you control deals combat damage to player. Flip a coin. If you win, create 2 tap treasure tokens. If it was just create 2 tap treasure tokens, it'd be C tier. But since it doesn't, it's only sometimes, you're going into D tier. Shadow the Hedgehog. Really fun commander. Whenever Shadow the Hedgehog or another creature you control with flash or haste dies, draw a card. That's a lot of draw power they're going to be getting. Because you're in red and you're playing ways to give everything haste. Each spell you cast with artifacts has split second, meaning you can't be countered. Okay, we have to make a tough decision here because this is definitely A tier. But what are we removing from A tier and putting into B tier? I feel like no, they're not both. Yeah, one's Sonic, the other's a PlayStation Commander, so we can't put them in the same pack. Do we have more than one? What's it called? Nope, we only have one Avatar, one Final Fantasy. We have the 2 Spider-Man ones, I guess. I guess Kraven's getting moved down. Norman's just too good. Like Narset and Kafka, just also really good commanders. Catchmotes is Aether Drift. What's our? Do we have another Aether Drift one or not? Does Captain Howler get moved down eventually if we have to? We'll see. Shantoto, Tactician Magician. So I was saying that 5 times fast. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +X/+0, where X is the mana value spent. If X is 4 or more, draw a card. Drawing a card, and a strong creature. We can draw multiple cards in the same turn. So, put in C tier. Shalinda, Yevon Acolyte. For Selesnya, you get 2/2. Lifelink, whenever another creature you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. Its power is less than Shalinda's power, otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on this card. Whenever another creature you control enters. Okay, so all your tokens are entering +1/+1 counters, as long as they're 1/1s. It's just buffing up your other creatures at the end of the day now. D tier. Shiko and Narset, Unified. For 1 in Jeskai, you get a 4/4, Vigilance Flying. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy that spell. Always nice to see that. You may choose new targets for the copy. If you don't copy that spell this way, draw a card. Okay, so say if you could just copy your extra turn spells. Say if you can copy like your draw power spells. All are very nice. You're in Jeskai, so like you're gonna be trying to storm off. Like just run a brainstorm and then run a extra turn spell. I think that's worth it. I think that's B tier. No. Just because, like, I don't think as good as Narset Jeskai Waymaster, because, like, how much gets dropped Narset? Might be though. Honestly, like Narset, I'd probably like have go over Feldar, just because like of the uniqueness of Feldar's like strategy. Shiko, Power Gun of the Way. Flying Vigilance, Shiko enters, 2 in Jeskai. Exile target non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. Copy it, you may cast a copy without paying its mana cost. Free spells are nice. Again, you're in, what's called blue and white, so you're playing ways to blink this and get to do it again and again. I think that's deserving of A tier. Maybe, B tier. Shriek, Troublemaker. If your first main phase, discard a card. This creature can't be blocked. Oh boy. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, deal 1 damage to that player. So has a burn effect, has a buff for other creatures, has 2 of the things we're looking for D tier. We'll put it in D tier. Silk, Web Weaver. For 2 in, I keep forgetting the color combination names. Anyway, whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1 human citizen creature token. Whenever you cast a creature spell, so like most creature token decks, you're not wanting to create a cast spells. If it was like if a creature enters, have a 1/1 token enter, like if 1 or more creatures enter, have a 1/1 token enter. This way it doesn't break like token decks or itself. 1 or more non-token creatures enter? Yeah. Instead like 1 or more non-token creatures enter, get a 1/1 spider. I think it would go above F tier, but it still does because it's D tier because it gets you enough tokens. Sins, Beer's Punishment. Whenever Sin enters or attacks, exile a permanent card from your graveyard at random. Create tap tokens. Copy that card. If it's land, repeat it. Good for landfall. You're in Simic, so you have plenty of landfall stuff. You're in black, so you have plenty of ways to mill stuff. You have plenty of good stuff that you want to reanimate. I think you're getting basically stuff from your graveyard for free. B tier. And like, wait, is it each turn? Yeah, I mean, like, you're getting multiple things in theory. So I think that still deserves B tier. Sin, Unending Cataclysm. Flying, trample, remove all counters from all the other stuff, and this has a bunch of counters on it, and it just becomes a strong creature of flying trample. I mean, it's a really strong creature of flying trample, but like, we set the precedent. We're putting an F tier. Seed of Arma, Masked Racer, exhaust, so you can only do it once. X and green, green, blue. Put X +1/+1 counters on Seed of Armor. Then you may have base power and toughness equal to each. Sorry. Then you may have the base power and toughness of each other creature you control become equal to the Seed of Armor's power until end turn. Okay. So you buff up all your creatures a lot. But that's not it. Only once. D tier. Saka and Suki. Or another ally you control enters, or attach up to 1 equipment you control to that, or Saka and Suki. Whenever an equipment you control enters, create a 1/1 ally. You gain tokens from casting your artifacts. You're getting those equipments onto your creatures. It benefits itself. It really much like benefits itself just by playing itself. And I really like the ability. I want to put this one in B tier. It just doesn't give you enough for like the other competition to go above C tier. Saka, Bull Boomeringer, enters, discards 2, draw that many. You get some counters on it sometimes. Enters, yeah, we'll put in D tier just because it's limited draw power. Saka, Lateral Strategist. And at least one other creature you control attack, draw a card. Drawing a card sometimes during each returns, maybe D tier. Saka, the Tenacious Tactician. Speaking of Sakas, Menace, Prowess, other allies you control have Menace and Prowess. Whenever another non-creature spell, get a 1/1 white ally creature token. So I know I said like Katara is like limited by only benefiting your what's called allies, but he creates the allies to begin with. So I think, and you have access to Jeskai. I think that does still go into B tier. Sonic. Whenever Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega, that was what I was thinking of, not Sonic. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, flash or flying. Sorry, flash or haste. Whenever a creature you control, flash or haste is dealt damage, create a tap treasure token. You're getting a bunch of treasure tokens. You're not getting draw power, but you're getting good mana card advantage. You're in red, so you're playing ways to give everything haste. Sonic, you go right next to Shadow, except you're in B tier, because that's why you're next to him. Spider, piloted by Penny. Oop, that's the wrong one. Enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Whenever modified creature control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. You're going to draw a bunch of cards every turn. You're in Azorius, so you have access to getting to do plenty of aura enchantment type things. You could also do +1/+1 counters. She like enables her own ability. I do still think that is deserving of C tier. So we're up to 43B, 47C, 50D, and 20F. Pretty good distribution. Spider Girl, Legacy Hero. Whenever during your turn, she is flying. Okay, don't know why we just didn't give her a jump. We already had the keyword for it. Spider Girl leaves battlefield. Create a 1/1 human citizen creature token. Okay, so it has like that leaves the battlefield. Like if it said leaves or enters the battlefield, then we would have a very good commander. In terms of how good this is on its own, I think just the D tier. Spider-Man 2099. Whenever you cast Spider-Man 2099 during your first, second, or third turn, you can't. Double strike, vigilance. Oops, sorry. At the beginning of your end step, if you play the land or cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, deal damage equal to its power to any other target. You're only going to do it once each turn. If it was like when you cast a spell from exile, deal damage equal to Spider-Man 29's power to like each opponent, then we have a very good card. We might have a too good card. But because it's just like damage sometimes, maybe. I think it's D tier. Spider-Man India. For 1 in Selesnya, you can web sling him in. Whenever you cast a creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains flying. Buffing up your other creatures sometimes. I'll put it into D tier. Spider Slayer, Hatred Honed. Deals damage to a spider. Destroy that creature's spider not touch, in other words. Exile this card from your graveyard. Get a couple robots for 6 mana. It's F tier. Oh boy, that's F tier. Spider Woman, Stunning Savior. Artifacts and creatures your opponents control enter tapped. So normally I would put this one into C tier, like if this was a normal list. But with the competition, I'd say this still goes in D tier, similar to Absolute Virtue. Like even if it does cost like that much less, still. Squall, Gunblade Duelist, first strike. Enters, choose a number. Billion. Whenever, or you could choose. Choose an imaginary number. It doesn't say it has to be a real number. Whenever one or more creatures attack one of your opponents, if any of those creatures have power toughness equal to the chosen number, deal damage equal to its power to the defending player. That could be a lot of damage against your opponent. Whenever one or more creatures attack your opponent, so it could happen during your opponent's turn as well. And for that reason, he's getting the C tier. Squall, Seed Mercenary. Whenever a creature you control attacks low, gets double strike. Whenever Squall deals combat damage to a player, return target permanent mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So he gives himself double strike, and that really benefits him a lot. We have ways to give him trample, make sure that he's dealing damage. Since it's limited by mana value 3 or less and by him dealing combat damage, I could see arguments for D tier, but I like this one too much to put him into anything below C. We have 53 left. Suki, Kyoshi Warrior. Powers toughness equals number of creatures you control, and you get a token. It's just gonna be a strong creature at the end of the day. F tier. Sun Spider, Nimble Webber. During your turn, Sun Spider is flying. Once again, just give it jump. It was released after Final Fantasy. When it, search your library for an aura equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand. Yeah, I think that's B tier. Honestly, I could see like low A if we were like not doing a top 10. But like you're in Azorius and you have ways to blink it, just search out your entire or equipment strategies. You're good. It says tutor in the command zone as well. Superior Spider-Man. Superior Spider-Man enters copy of target creature in a graveyard, except its name is Superior Spider-Man. It's a 4/4. You're in blue. You're in black. You have ways to mill yourself. You have ways to mill your opponent. You're in blue. You have ways to blink Superior Spider-Man, so you can keep on copying a different thing. It doesn't hurt your. Oh no, you do. You do also exile that card, so you're hindering your opponent as well. But a little bit graveyard hate if you have a way to blink this as instant speed. Is it enough? I think it's still C tier. Symbiote Spider-Man. Deals combat damage to a player. Look at that many cards on the top of your library. One into your hand and the rest in your graveyard. It's like it's 2 cards. Deals combat damage to a player. So you're drawing cards sometimes, maybe. D tier he goes. Following up, we have Servon Dam, Sunstar Exemplar. Whenever another creature you control dies or is put in exile, put a +1/+1 counter on Servon Dam, and you get to gain a life. It's supposed to work with like the, not Void, whatever the other one was. Haste? Warp. Dies or put into your exile. Its power is 4 greater, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. You're going to buff this creature. You're in white, so you have access to ways to keep on blinking your stuff in order to get him stronger and stronger. Ways to blink him in order to make sure he could just like come back and do that removal thing again. In terms of like Edge of Eternity commanders, very good. In terms of like overall, D tier. Servon Dam, the Lucent. Enters or attacks other creatures you control get +1/+0 in Death Touch. It's a little bit too limited. For 5 mana, that's F tier. Cesaro, Genesis Shepherd. Play lands from a graveyard. Very nice. Whenever you sacrifice another non-token permanent during your turn, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to Cesaro's power up to 1 of other target creature. Playing lands from a graveyard is very nice. Being able to do that again and again, even nicer. I think A tier you could go. Tanuk, Memorial Ensign. Whenever land you control enters, Tanuk deals 1 damage to each opponent. Second time this ability has resolved this turn, you get to draw a card. We're in green. We're playing ways to make sure more than 1 land is entering each turn, especially like I said with green, or like even some of the new stuff they printed with red. We can keep on dealing the damage. We have ways like sacrifice or recast land. But I think, especially with Urge Bending, it's really even better. I think still A tier with that, because that draw power is nice. Tella, Great Sage. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 hero creature token, if 4 or more mana is spent. You also get to draw a couple cards. 8 or more, sacrifice this card, deal that much damage to each opponent. Drawing 2 is nice. You could do it multiple times on the same turn. In theory, though, because it'd spend mana, 4 mana. You don't have to discard it, though. I think that's still C tier. Let's see C tier. C low C, high D. Temet, Nakamut's Will for 2, a white, a blue, and a black. Vigilance Menace. Whenever you attack, draw a card and discard a card. Whenever you draw a card, zombies control get +1/+1 till end of turn. Very good commander for zombies. Drawing cards, discarding cards is nice. In terms of, the buff is only till end of turn. And so whenever you attack, you're going hand neutral. I think D tier. Like, I do definitely see him as being very nice for like zombies, because like doing that ability and then like getting to like buff all your zombies, which are already 2/2s, that can be enough to win the game. I don't think you're getting it off often enough. Terra, Herald of Hope. At the beginning of combat your turn, mill 2 cards. Terra gains flying until end of turn. Whenever Terra deals combat damage to player, pay 2. Turn target creature card mana value with power drew less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Only from our graveyard. We do have ways to self-mill. Does rely on her dealing combat damage. You do mill herself. She also gains flying. Flying is nice, so it does allow you a bit of evasion. I think good enough for C tier. Well, actually, you're getting it for free. No, but it's so limited by the mana value or less. Not like that limited, because like if you're like, Sudden Titan's like weak, it's like not really. Not as good as it used to be. Terra Magical Adept for 1 and Gruul. You get when Terra enters, mill 5. Put up to 1 target enchantment card milled this way into your hand. Nice little recursion there. Exile her and return her as Esper Terra. Create tokens that are a copy of target non-legendary enchantment you control. It gains haste. If it's Saga, 3 lore counters on it. Sacrifice at the beginning of your next end step. Like, just a lot of the good, like, sagas are good on their first chapter, and then eventually get 10 mana. I just personally am not a fan of, like, this one myself. I think it is a little bit too expensive to go in A tier, but still, I think B tier is a perfectly good place for it. Taval, Arbiter of Virtue. For 2, black, green, and blue, you have flying lifelink spells you control Delve. John, how about you? Delve is a very good ability. When you recast a spell, you lose life equal to its mana value. The losing life, on the other hand, a little bit hurtful. You do have the lifelink in order to make up for that. But Delve, normally you're just going to win a game if you manage to have enough cards in your graveyard. And like, you're going to have ways to mill yourself being in green and black. You're going to have ways to just get that devotion like mana that you need. I think B tier. I think the losing life doesn't put an A tier. And also, like, we already have Narset and Valdar. I think they're slightly better, in my opinion. Then we have Taval, the balanced scale. Whenever Taval enters, mill 3 cards. May return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Return one or more cards, leave your graveyard, get a 2/2 zombie. We're getting extra lands, we're getting extra tokens. We're getting all the extra stuff we need. Both Tavals are really good. A tier goes. Sorry, B tier goes. The Destined Warrior. First strike, Vigilance, Menace. Members of your party cost 1 less to cast. Entering your combat on your turn. Creatures you control get +1/+0 or +3/0. You're getting a buff. You're getting a little bit of cost reduction. Not enough to go above D tier now. The Emperor Palamecia. Get one or the other. Or you get a little bit of a buff. And then eventually you get to deal X damage to each opponent where X the number of non-creature cards in your graveyard when he attacks. Bunch of damage, bunch of mana. I think still D tier though. Don't think it's enough of a buff to go above that. The Lion Turtle. Add 1 mana of any color. Sometimes it could attack. The mana's still good. And yeah, we'll put, what's it called? What was the one we just did before him? Lion Turtle. Well, we're going to be scrolling for a bit. Yep, there we go. Oop, if our thing wants to reload, there we go. Oh god, there's still so many. The Regalia. Get an extra land off the top few cards of your deck. It's a little bit of a land boost, but still, it's requires you to accrue it. D tier. The Spot, Living Portal. Enters, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent and up to 1 target non-land permanent from a graveyard. Dies, put them in the bottom of the opponent's library. Just not really paying attention to that second effect. We're just going to keep on blinking this. Keep on removing our opponent's stuff. We have just removal in the command zone. And, like, removal's card advantage, but not enough card advantage to go above D tier. It's still 5 mana. The Wall of Bossing Stag. I think this gives a little bit of a buff to our other creatures, but it's 8 mana. So, D tier goes. Especially as a commander on its own. It doesn't really do much. It's just going to be stacks and sit there. The Wandering Minstrel. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, you control 5 or more towns. Get 2/2 elemental. That's all colors. So you're getting a 2/2 sometimes, maybe. And then other times you're getting to buff up all your creatures. For 8 mana. Which, like, lands you control enter untapped. That's always very nice. That's like a very good ability to have your lands enter untapped is the thing. And I think that part still warrants the D tier. Sorry, C tier. Wandering Triad, a 3 mana mana rock that has flying, trample, and haste as long as you have 8 or more. Sorry. So there are fewer than 8 cards in graveyard. I thought 8 or more. Still a very good ability. Let's think about it. D tier. Tyus, Blitzball Star. Whenever an artifact control enters, Tyus gets a little stronger. And whenever he attacks, you get to remove opponent's creature from combat, essentially. F tier. It's just going to be a strong creature that could attack your opponent. Tidus, Unit's Guardian. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, you may move a counter from target creature you control onto a second target creature you control. One or more creatures you control with counters on them deal combat damage to the player. You get to draw some cards and proliferate. So you're dealing damage to each opponent. Oh, you're only doing it once each turn, never mind. So you're not going to draw multiple cards each turn. Proliferation is nice. I think C tier. It's warranted now. You can almost see the end of the alphabet. Tifa, Martial Artist, Melee. Whenever a creature you control power 7 or greater deals combat damage to a player, again, extra combat phase with all your creatures. Extra combat phases are just nice. Where do we put Boomy? Boomy unleashes here. But that one can go infinite. She cannot go infinite, but she does buff up your other creatures. She's a little bit reliant on like dealing with damage first, though. So we'll put her in D tier. Toph, Greatest Earthbend. We're up to the tops. Enters Earthbend X, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast her, which she just keeps getting stronger and stronger, similar to Diadrine, but she doesn't draw cards like Diadrine. Lands you control double strike. That's also very nice. I think still D tier, because it's just going to be another buff for your other creatures. Toph, Hard-Headed Teacher. Discard a card, draw a card, return an instant sorcery from a graveyard to your hand. When you cast a spell, Earthbend 1. Which, we like that. Like Earthbending. because that's essentially advantage plus recursion. I think that's C tier. Toph, the first metal bender. Being your end step, Earthbend 2, putting some counters onto your non-token artifacts because those are now creatures. Sorry, because those are now lands. We can't tap for mana, but having everything be a land, very nice, along with that Earthbending. B tier goes. She goes. Well, actually, do I like her better than Avatar Aang? I do personally, but I could see why Avatar Aang stays in the A tier. Ultima, Origin of Oblivion. Attacks, put a blight counter on target land. For as long as this land has a blight counter on it, it loses all land types and all abilities and has tap, add colorless. There's a little bit of stacks for your opponent, a little bit of buff for you. All your lands also tap for an additional colorless, so it's even more of a buff for you. It's a lot of mana. That's enough mana to go in C tier. So it's still a colorless commander at the end of the day. Ultimate Green Goblin. At the beginning of your upkeep, discard a card, create a treasure. You're not getting like much card advantage there because you're not getting to draw a new card. You're just getting a treasure. You have to wait a whole turn. C D tier. Ultimecia, Time Sorceress. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 4, 2 blue, 2 black, and exile 8 cards from your graveyard. Transformer into Ultimecia. Whenever when this creature transforms, take an extra turn. Extra turns are nice. That's enough card advantage for C tier, I'd say. Uncle Iroh, Firebending 1, less than spells you cast, costs 1 less cast. That little bit of cost reduction, very nice, but only for lessons. I think that's still F tier. Rennie of the Unwritten. For 4 green, blue, and red, you get a 7/7 flying trample. Enters or attacks. Look at the top 8 cards of your library. Dragon card onto the battlefield. Getting the free dragon. Sometimes maybe it's better than allies, I'd say, but not as good of effect as Katara. So it's still C tier. Ureni, the Song Unending. Flying protection from white and black. Deals X damage. Basically board wipes your opponent based upon the amount of lands you have. Your board wipe in the command zone is nice. Not nice enough to go above D tier, I'd say, though. There we go. There's this. We found Z. Orgalet. Whenever you play land or exile from exile or cast a spell from exile, gain 2 life. Okay. Look at the top card of your library. Exile face down. Okay. Then in turn, you may play cards exile with this card. I don't know. Costs 2 less to cast. That's kind of cool. Is relying on taking multiple turns. At the end of the day, your payoff's not that big, but your card advantage is, I think, still C tier. Venom, Deadly Devourer. Exile target creature card from a graveyard, not just yours. Put X +1/+1 counters on target symbiote, where X is exile card's toughness. aka buff up one of your creatures a lot. It's buffing up another creature. It could buff up a bunch, not enough. Oh, wait, I forgot about Vivi. Vivi, add X mana in any combination of red or blue. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Vivi and deal 1 damage to each opponent. You're going to storm off with Vivi, you're going to deal a lot of damage. There's a reason Vivi's banned in another format. I forgot which one it's called. Modern? Not modern. Standard? Standard. What? Do we take out Kefka for Vivi? I don't think so. I think... Is Kefka or Vivi better than either Narset, Katramos, Feldar, or Diadrine? Does Diadrine go down to... No. Wait, Diadrine's only Edge of Returns. It's better than Captain Howler. Is Captain Howler a little bit too reliant on you dealing that damage? And not giving your cards trample? I think so. I think that moves him down to B tier for Captain Howler. Vulture, Scheming Scavenger. Attacks other villains you control, gain flying. Buff for a very limited creature type, F tier. Waka, Devoted Guardian. Reach, Trample. Waka deals combat damage to... I'm getting tired. Deals combat damage to the player, destroy it to 1 target artifact that player controls. Put a +1/+1 counter on Waka. At the beginning of your end step, if a counter was put on Waka this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Buffing up your other creatures, D tier. Winter, Curse Rider. Artifacts control of Ward, pay 2 life. Exhaust 2 and Demir. Exile X artifact cards from your graveyard. Each other non-artifact creature gets -X/-X. Board wiping your opponent in the command zone. Where do we just put that? we put in D tier or put in C tier? I think D tier. Yeah. Either way, this one goes in D tier. Raid, Vicious Vigilante. Double strike, Raid can't be blocked. It's a 1-1 with double strike. You're dealing 2 damage. You're going to be able to buff her up quite a bit, but still, just all you're going to be able to do. F tier. Xande, Dark Mage, Menace. It gets +1/+1 for each non-land card in your graveyard. Be a very strong creature, but that's about it. F tier. Zoophyte, Osteomancer, Recursion. They lose their abilities, but you don't tend to care. Was that B tier or C tier? I think C tier because of them losing their abilities and it requiring it to be tapped. Well, I think it's also only at sorcery speed, so yeah, C tier feels fitting. Y'shtola, Nice Bless. Speaking Commander, I see everywhere. It'd be your end step. If a player lost 4 more life this turn, you get to draw a card. If a player, yeah. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, deal with mana value 3 or greater, Y'shtola deals 2 damage to each opponent, and you gain 2 life. You're dealing a bunch of damage, and you're casting a bunch of spells. And you're going to draw a bunch of cards. It's also if a player. I think still B tier. I don't think it's as good as Kefka still. I could see the argument for like that over Kefka in the A tier, but still B tier. Yuna, Grand Summoner, add 1 mana of any color. Then you cast a creature spell that. Whenever you cast a creature spell this turn, and just with 2 additional +1/+1 counters, whenever permanent you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, if you have 1 or more counters, you may put that many counters onto another target creature. So the mana is nice, the moving the counters is nice, the buffing up your other creatures is very nice. Also, it doesn't just count +1/+1 counters. It counts like your Saga lore counter things too. That's also very nice. Also just B or C. Low B, high C. We'll put it in C. Yuna, Hope Aspira. During your turn, Yuna enchantment creatures you control trample, lifelink 4/2, buffing up your other creatures. Being your end step, recur 1 of your enchantments. Another C tier commander for Yuna. Recursion, buff, both nice things you can do. Zahur, Glorious Pass. Start your engines. Sacrifice another creature, surveil 1, activate only once each turn. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, create a tap 2/2 zombie, which is a very good ability. You have a Sacrifice Outlet. Only thing is, it does rely on having max speed, which is a little bit slow. Speaking of which, let's think about it, because like you're still getting enough tokens, but it's too slow. D tier. Zhao, Ruthless Admiral, Firebending 2. Whenever you sacrifice another non-token permanent, creature control get +1/+0 on the turn. You're buffing up other creatures. D tier. Oh, I forgot about Zidane. Zidane's another one I built in real life. Gain control of target creature and opponent controls. Give it back with event at the end of the turn. Untap it, gains haste and lifelink, and you get a treasure token when you give stuff to your opponent. Which like this plus Iroh, regular little combo that you get there. Not good enough for A tier. I think you're basically getting removal on your opponent, so B tier could go. Now Zuko, Zurgo. Zuko conflicted. Beginning first main phase, you lose 2 life and draw a card, +1/+1 counter, add red mana, or exile Zuko and return some of the opponent's board. It's limited draw power, D tier. Zuko, Seeking Honor, Firebending 1, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, gets first strike, deals counter damage to an opponent, put +1, again, being a strong creature with first strike. The counters are nice, but it's not going to be nice enough. Zurgo, Storm Render, mobilize 1. Whenever a non-token creature you control leaves the battlefield, draw a card. If it was attacking, otherwise an opponent loses life. I always get confused when this one is on the board. I'm like, what's it do again? Draw power is nice, though. It allows you to draw a bunch of cards. Where is this A tier? Is Zurgo... It's Tarkir? So is it better than Narset, or... I think it's a little bit better than Felidar, actually. I think Zurgo over Felidar. Yeah. I feel confident about that. Yeah, just because Feldar's a little bit limited. And Zurgo Thunder's Decree. During your end step, warrior token you control can't be sacrificed. So you get to keep your mobilized tokens. And, that's just kind of cool. But D tier, that's about all it does. Okay, so that's our rankings there. Our top 10 commanders for the year are Avatar Aang, Diadrine Synthesis Amalgam, Jin Sakai, Ghost of Tsushima, Kefka Court Mage, Ketramos the New Dawn, Narset Jeskai Waymaster, Norman Osborn, Shadow the Hedgehog, Vivi Ornator, and Zergo Swordmender. If we had to limit it to a top 3, or let's say top 5, in terms of like my personal preference, I would say Norman Osborn is my top. Jin Sakai. Then I'd probably go Shadow. Maybe Diadrine 4. And then 5 would probably Vivi. Yeah, that's my own ranking there. Leave your own down there in the comment section. I'd be happy to read them all. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of the day.